everybody. Welcome back. YouTube.com/Geek Aloud for your Thursday night's entertainment. It's 8 p.m. And I am here, of course, with Unky Dunky. Sir, how are you this evening, my friend?
Mate, I'm very well. Very happy to be here talking video games. We're in backlog season at the moment, so we're coming thick and fast. Nothing new yet to talk about, but very happy to talk about the things we've been playing this week.
Fantastic, mate. Good to have you here. And joining us also is Bully in the third slot there. Bully, how are you this evening, sir?
Doing very well, lads. As Unky mentioned, there's a fair backlog running at the moment. I wish I had managed to get through some of it in the last couple of weeks before we start. I think as of tomorrow.
Well, Bully, the idea of a backlog, Bully, is to actually play your backlog and not keep buying backlog games to fill that backlog. So just start playing video games, Bully. That's my recommendation.
Either that, or I can just go to the shops and get One Piece tomorrow and then crack off the new year in style.
All right, before I get into the show rundown, I've got to ask you, Bully, what the hell is One Piece? You mentioned it about 5 minutes ago. I still don't know what it is. Explain yourself.
One Piece Pirates. It's a Japanese anime, long-running series. They've had quite a few video games coming out over the journey. There is a new one releasing tomorrow, turn-based RPG. I think we'll probably get it in the rundown anyway. But
of course we will.
Yeah, as I said, turn-based RPG. But for anyone that hasn't really jumped into the series, and I haven't watched a lot of it, I'll be brutally honest with you, but this one is almost a beginning's tale. So if you don't know much about it, or you've only sort of caught it in passing and little bits here and there, it's probably a good starting point, and that's out tomorrow.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you, and I'm sure we'll get to it later. But let's start with the proper rundown. First off this evening, first segment, games, interrogation, and deliberation. We will go through the 5 top games we've been playing this week. Each of us will sound off our hands-on impressions. Then, of course, it's segment 2 for the news. That's right, the news. We've been kicking in some newsroom doors. Unky, I don't suppose you've got a news story count for me?
We've got 5 stories tonight, Troy.
5 games, 5 stories. Well, then we'll find out in the standoff, segment 3. 1, Unky, what is the standoff constraints this evening? And 2, how many entrants are there? Is there by chance 5?
No, we've got a bit more than 5. We've got 9 tonight, and I've already mentioned we are thick in the backlog season. So at the moment, while we're playing our backlog, we're going to ask, what is G.E.A.'s most anticipated game of 2023?
Oh, I know mine.
Oh, I hope it's on the list, Troy.
It is. I already looked.
Yes.
We nailed it. Teamwork makes the dream work. And then, of course, it's audience interrogation. We're going to try and mix it up this evening. We'll try and include some comments throughout the show. So feel free to sound off during the show. And any we happen to miss, we will, of course, cover off in segment 4, the final one. That's audience interrogation. But start, as we always do, games, interrogation, and deliberation. First off this week, it is Marvel's Midnight Suns. I'll just firstly note that this is my footage coming off the Xbox Series X. However, our lead investigator is Bully. So, Bully, over to you, sir.
Thanks, mate. I've been playing this one on the PS5. It's probably not much difference, to be honest with you. It's not a graphical sort of powerhouse of a game, but by any stretch of the imagination. It's a bit of a slow start, to be honest with you. I think I'll probably put 2, maybe 3 hours into it, and we're sort of almost sitting on the fence of jumping out and saying, I've seen what it's got to offer, and I'll put it to the side. But for anyone that hasn't played it, or has got through that first couple of hours, keep pushing through with it. It's by the time you get to that 3rd, 4th, and 5th hour, it really starts to crank up. There's a lot of tutorial sort of stuff in that first sort of period of time.
Can I jump in and ask you, Bully, sure, was there a specific turning point for you? Was there a specific character or battle, or was there something? What was the turning point for you, if you can recall?
Oh, I don't think it was so much that there was a specific character or battle, but what I found is that the tutorial section, and then accompanying the tutorial section, is also explaining. You've basically got a home base area that you can explore, which is, in effect, it's an abbey, an old church, and then the grounds around it. So while you're running through the tutorial area as well, it's also telling you about the abbey and different parts of it, and introducing different characters and all that sort of stuff. And it's kind of slow and methodical to start with, and you don't actually go in and start doing a lot of the battles early on. You do a couple, and then you come back to the abbey again, and you've got to go through these tutorial sections again and all these sort of other bits. The way it's sort of broken up, once you get through all that, though, is you'll go and choose a mission. It's either a story mission or a side mission. You can do those. once you've done that, you come back to the Abbey again, and then you can do some activities during the night. You can then go to your room, go to sleep, and you start a fresh day. At the start of each day, you can then sort of go through and upgrade your equipment or talk to some of the other characters and upgrade your abilities and stuff, and then you go on another mission and then just sort of rinse and repeat. And that's probably the
So I was just going to ask on the day mechanics, is it as irrelevant as it is in Gotham Knights, which day you're on? There's zero real consequence?
Oh, from not from what I've seen so far, and I think I'm up to day 15 or something like that. There's no, like if you miss something, it'll come around again. The only thing I've seen is when you wake up, there's obviously a day part before you do the missions, and then a night part when you come back from doing it. There's some things that you can't do during the day, and you can only do it when you come back at night, and vice versa. So you just sort of that's the only really thing I've sort of found, but it doesn't impact. You can always come back to it the next time that you're there anyway. But what I was going to say is that that's probably one of the things that you got to get your head around, and was probably a little bit annoying, and probably contributed to that sort of fatigue in those first couple of hours, is going through that process every day. You can't just sort of sit at the area where you've got your missions and you can select that and just go one after the other after the other after the other, and sort of.
I would love that if that was a thing.
Yeah, and just sort of go through it and say, hey, all I want to do today is I want to do half a dozen missions, and then I'm going to go and do whatever. Or I want to explore the grounds, and then I'll go and do this, or I'll go and do that. You've got to sort of work through it each day fairly methodically, and that's probably the only thing that is really, apart from the longish tutorials, the one thing that sort of really held me back is initially is that you had to go through that process. But once you sort of work that out, and you've done 4 or 5 days in a row, that you sort of go, okay, well, this is all I've got to do. I've got to go here to get this. I've got to go here to get that, and then I can go and do the missions. You can sort of work your way through it pretty quickly. In terms of the combat, I think it's been described as XCOM-y, turn-based type thing. It's that, but it's also a mixture of that sort of element.
Hearthstone?
Yeah, well, almost like a card battler, but with the tactical sort of side of it with the XCOM. So they're sort of molded or mashed the two together, which makes for a bit of an interesting way of playing it. And sometimes it's not, because it's dependent on the cards you get. Sometimes, and I found myself in a game I was playing about an hour ago, is that you find yourself with no skills that you can use. You've almost got to forfeit a turn, which can almost you can lose the match basically. Because
so the 2 reshuffles that they give you per round not sufficient?
Well, it depends, because you can reshuffle the cards, 2 of the cards back in during the each round. But the problem is, if one of your characters is stunned or incapacitated or has been KO'd or whatever, you can't use their card still. So you might redraw in a card from one of your characters has a status effect, but you might just redraw the same card of their own pack, so you can't use them. So you can do that the 2 times, and you might end up with nothing that you can use, and you might only have 1 or 2 other cards that you could use out of your turns for each round, and you've used those, and you've got to forfeit the last couple of turns, which can be a little bit annoying. But ultimately, that's just that's the card battling system. And I've played quite a bit of Hearthstone. It can get very annoying, but at the same time, you sort of take the ebbs and flows of sometimes you're going to get a good hand and a good deal, and sometimes you're not, and you just got to work your way through it. That's just part of it. So once you sort of get your I was just going to say, once you get your head around that sort of stuff, it actually becomes quite enjoyable, and you start working through the cards and how they work with each other, and how you can then utilize one character's card in combination with another one, and the tactics really come into it. It's less about moving around the battlefield as such. It's more about using the skills within each card and how well they work with someone else's. That's where the main tactics sort of part comes from it. But
Yep, I was putting in a couple of hours this week, and a thought dawned on me, Bully, and you've just triggered it. Do you think at any point they were going to do a Hearthstone like paid card packs, like DLC, like online, not like microtransaction? That's the word I'm looking for. Do you think they were ever intending to do new packs Hearthstone style to shuffle into those decks?
Oh,
Like,
I'm
it's
not
not
sure.
there, to be clear. There's no microtransactions. But I was just playing it this week, and I'm like, man, I wonder if there was an iteration of this where they were squeezing the nickels and dimes.
Look, the only reason I'd say no is because it's a fairly inbuilt system, the character upgrade. So there's a whole section within that Abbey that you would go to and specifically work through obtaining cards, and then there's another section in the Abbey that once you get a certain amount of the cards of one character, you can meld them together to make the cards better or more damaging or whatever the effect is. So it's quite inbuilt in
Yep.
terms of how they put together that, and that would have had to been done fairly, or not fairly early on in development, but that would have had to been fleshed out
Yeah, I'm with
well
you.
before release date. So I don't think that it's something. Look, it may be that in initial development they said, "Hey, look, we can do this, we can do this," but as it sort of progressed and got into the real putting together the nuts and bolts of the game, I don't think that's something that really, other than maybe a passing sort of, can we do this or not? I don't think it's really been looked at or implemented in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. It's not there in the final one, but I reckon it was about, I'm guessing here, about 18 months ago. I feel like the EU started to say no more, random chance loot boxes, essentially, which is what that mechanic would have been. So I wonder if, 18 months prior to launch, they had it in there and then, there's legal problems. Pull it out, boys. Bake it all in.
Yeah, look, potentially, but that's across the board.
Yeah.
For games in general, I think that after the debacle that we saw of Battlefront 2 and the issues with that, I think pretty much, even if they hadn't been pulled up by all the regulatory bodies, I think just the amount of backlash and ill will towards that game when it released and the negativity, I think sort of would have stopped a few other publishers and developers in their tracks and sort of said, well, do we actually need to like, we might be putting out a new IP. Do we need to have it attached to loot boxes that's potentially going to give us that bad publicity or negative press that we're not going to sell games? So I think that's part of the regulatory bodies, but I think a large part of it's just the player base and the backlash that's become of that. So again, I suppose we'll never know unless the developers come out and say, yeah, well, this is what we had planned and we nixed it because of this, and this, I guess. But
fair enough. Unky, any thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I jumped into this probably just over the Christmas period as well, when I had Crisis Core, and Crisis Core sort of took my attention away from it just because with this game, I think I like 50% of it. And when I say 50%, I
The
like the
gameplay
combat.
bit?
I like the gameplay where you're actually playing the game and the combat.
you
And
and
I
I
sort of
both.
have to push back a little bit on Bully where he said it's not about the sort of moving around the battlefield. I think that's what's fun about this game. It is moving around the battlefield and positioning your characters in the right place to sort of, knock characters into other characters. Because if you're just attacking single characters, you're probably not going to do well on the battlefield. It's about getting that right position, attacking them and getting multiple damage to certain enemies. So I actually quite like that whole aspect, and the fact that the battlefields are littered with different obstacles that you can use. You can kick things at people and it's interactive. Like, there's not much to it, but it's a little bit more, and you can kick them into electronic things and cause damage that way. So to give you an example where I've probably played up to that first big battle with Venom.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if that's a couple hours in probably. So I'll probably echo Bully's sentiment that it's very heavy tutorial based at that up to that point. There's a lot of text on screen.
Is that to say you haven't come across, is it Knight Rider? He's the one with the car, isn't he, Bully? Knight Rider?
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider! Have you come across Ghost Rider yet, Unky?
I reckon I have seen him in the story. Yes, I definitely have.
Have you played as him, though?
I reckon I don't know. I've got Spider-Man, maybe.
Just back to your point, though, about the interactive battlefield and moving around to position yourself for an attack. Bully, help me out. Knight Rider? I keep doing it. Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider. Yeah.
Ghost Rider's got a card, mate, Unky, where he calls in his car and he jumps on the hood and he's got his whips going. It's one of the best animations I've seen in the game. He's on the hood. There's flames coming. It's like the old the Interceptor from Mad Max almost, and there's flames coming off it. Big V8 engine, and he just mows down this fat line straight up the battlefield. And if you've positioned yourself correctly first, you can take out. I think I took out 6 blokes in one, hit and run. Essentially, it was. He is my favorite character to play in game. Sorry, Unky, back to you.
I've heard a lot of reviewers say that Ghost Rider is one of the good characters to utilize in the game. I've liked the characters I've got. It should be mentioned that you do create your own character at the start of the game as well. He's fully voiced, which is nice. There's not a lot of options when it comes to making him. I mean, I didn't go anywhere near close to being able to create Nathan Drake with this game, unfortunately.
You knew my next question.
I did. I mean, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's hard to go back to at the moment because it's one of those things that right now I'm in the Abbey and I'm doing some talking stuff, and every time I jump back in, I'm just like, I need that adrenaline hit almost straight away. And being in the Abbey, it just slows the game back so much, and the text is so small to read and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, just a few things there that I just sort of need more of. And as Bully sort of hinted at, it'd be nice to be able to just sort of get through that stuff quicker, just to get back to the fun part that is the action, is the gameplay.
Can I jump in on that point and tell you something incredibly nerdy I've done?
Go for it.
You know, I've got that little dongle that overwrites the controller.
Oh yeah.
I've got it where I can trigger off the controller off one of my paddles. I trigger a loop of just spamming B, and when I get back into the Abbey, I trigger it so it's just constantly hitting B, and I just run up to people, engage conversation, skip, on to the next person, skip. I have absolutely zero interest in anything happening in that Abbey. It baffles me why it's even in there. To your earlier point, Billy, I wish I could just hit that table. But I've written my nerdy little script, and I just skip the whole lot of the Abbey as much as I can anyway. Unfortunately, there's stuff to go around. But sorry, Unky, you were saying.
No, that's all right. It just feels like, yeah, it feels a little bit disjointed. It feels like two completely separate games sort of melded into one. And I can see maybe how a lot of people like that. It slows down after the big battles and you've had that adrenaline hit. So let's slow it down a little bit and give you a bit of story and stuff. I just think it slows down a little bit too much for mind this early in the game for me, especially when you play the game at the start and you get in some battles. You're like, this is really fun. What's going on the screen looks really cool. You're seeing some of your favorite superheroes do some really cool shit. And then it takes you to the Abbey and you just slow down and you're walking around and you kind of like a bit jarring. Like his animation for walking is almost ridiculously ludicrous in the way it looks. They could have done something better with that. It's just really weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's disjointed. I enjoy the combat. I don't like the Abbey. I will get back to this because I really enjoy the combat and that XCOM style of gameplay. So it's just, it's going to take a little bit for me to get back in, especially as we start to ramp up towards the end of January and February. The new releases start hitting. That's all.
Definitely. Sorry, Billy, over to you, mate. Will you have any final points? I feel like maybe I cut you off midstream earlier.
No, that's all good. I think pretty well covered. I can see what they're sort of, to Unky's point, I can see what they're doing with the stuff at the Abbey. Is that, Marvel's, heavily leaning into that storyline and the cinematic universe and all that sort of stuff that they just bang on and on about. But I think that's what they're trying to do is bring that story element into it. And the annoying part is some of it is actually quite interesting, but there's probably 80% filler and 20% of that's actually something that's good to know, or that was a good story part or whatever it was. So I guess that's sort of the trade-off with that. But if you're going to give it a score, I'd probably give it a 6.5 or a 7. It's good.
Can I actually press your Billy for two separate scores? I want a score for the gameplay side of it and a score for the Abbey side of it.
Gameplay, I'd give you an 8. The Abbey, I'd give you a 2.
Unky, give me your two scores, mate.
Although, having said that,
I think Bully nailed it. That's exactly what I was going to go with, I reckon.
I think it's funny though, because if you get outside the Abbey itself and you start exploring some of the grounds and stuff, there is actually some good stuff in there. There's some collectibles and stuff. There's some mysteries that you got to try and solve. They're not overly complicated, I'll be brutally honest, but there's at least something there that you can sort of have a look at and take your interest away. It's just literally, it's just the engagement with the characters that just sucks a bit of the fun out of it. I'll be honest with you, and that's sort of where I'm at with it. If it was just like I said earlier, if you could just hit that table and just plow through the missions and the side missions and all that, and the story and the main story, I'd be more than happy with that. I don't know why they've felt the need to add all this extra stuff in, other than padding it out, I guess.
Two final questions for you, Billy. Number one, do you think you'll be putting more hours into this, or is this going to fall quietly onto the backlog?
At the moment, it's sort of got into me, but as we hinted at, depends when I go to the shops tomorrow if I come home with a new one that I'll be playing, and then we've got, what do we got, Forspoken and Dead Space before the end of the month, so I'll say yes, but again, I've spoken about my backlog time and time again, so it might fall by the wayside.
Fair enough. And just the last question, Billy, who's your favourite character?
Iron Man.
No.
Oh, yeah, what are your takes on Iron Man? Good call,
Unky. Captain Marvel.
He's your favourite?
I reckon she's pretty good. She's got, you spoke about the Ghost Rider with his attack that, can take out half the
battlefield.
After battlefield, she's got a very similar one where she can basically line up this projectile type shot and just go bang and take out
The old photon beam, I believe.
Yeah, so I actually don't mind that one. The rest of them have, I mean, each have got their own little sort of things here and there, but I find, I don't know whether it's because of the moveset that she's got or the fact that I find it easier to play with her in your team, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fair enough. Oh, wait, one final question. I lied earlier. There was 3. The final question, because I've just seen the Abby. Why, when you hop in the hot tub, do you get 2 negative dark side points or whatever it is? What's going on there? I just want to relax in the hot tub. Why am I getting dinged?
I haven't jumped in the hot tub yet. Are you talking about the swimming pool outside, or you?
Well, maybe it's called hot springs. It's rock formation. And it's bubbling water, and you're sitting there, and you just look very relaxed.
Maybe they consider it some sort of Hugh Hefner style grotto. I don't know.
Very good. All right, then, moving on. Game 2 this evening. Over to you, Unky Dunky, for some Mythic Quest Season 3.
Yes, game 2, not a game at all. It's just a show about video games because I haven't played that much this week, but I did binge all 10 episodes of Mythic Quest Season 3.
You're doing better than me, mate. I'm only 3 episodes in, so if I could ask you not to really spoil whatever happens at the end, that'd be great, but go for it.
I won't spoil the end, but I will say you're coming up to another one of those sort of mid-season episodes where they do the whole...
I love them.
They step away from sort of the main story this time, and it's this one, sort of it's not really a spoiler to say, but it sort of takes a look at the upbringings of 2 of our main characters and
That's
sort of
epic,
their
I look
origin
forward to it.
story as kids. And I'll have to just do a shout out to the girl they picked to play Poppy because she is literally a small version of Poppy and she plays it brilliantly.
That's awesome.
So I look forward to that. But no, me and the wife binged all the 10 episodes this week, or maybe the last 2 weeks or so, and really enjoyed it. It's sort of a departure from season 2. This one, if you remember, at the end of season 2, Poppy and Iron go off and start their own Grim Pop studio, which is in the same building as Mythic Quest. But sort of it's about them sort of trying to work together to create a new video game, and Iron struggling with the fact that it's not his video game, working with Poppy, and there's some really cool sort of character dynamic stuff that they play with, and a lot of the other auxiliary characters get more time to shine with them sort of away from Mythic Quest. And it's just a really fun ride. Like, it doesn't take itself seriously, as you know full well, but it's just such a great sort of narrative about video game development. And it's obviously, this show's produced by Ubisoft, and you can tell like they cover off on things in this season about like monetization. They got one of the characters goes off and does monetization for Mythic Quest, and Poppy's game sort of that she's working on is not working, so she moves away for that and sort of gets into the VR space and starts working on a game where it's not a game, but it's a creative game where you go and make your own games. So it's
Dream style?
Yeah, similar to that. Like they sort of look like me characters and stuff like that. So it's a lot of art imitating life, and you can sort of see the world of video games in this show. And I think they just do it brilliantly. There's a side sort of story now going. I'm not sure it's episode 3 you're into it, where they're creating a Mythic Quest movie. Are you that far in yet?
Yes, that does sound right. Yeah.
Where David, so he's sort of the 2IC to the main character Iron, and in sort of the other seasons, and now that they've moved away, he's sort of taken the head lead. So it's got Joe Magnilialo, whatever his name is. I can't say his bloody name.
Either can I, mate, but I know who you mean.
Mangalano, that bloke, Sofia Vergara's husband, the big rip dude. So he's sort of come in to play the Black Knight, and there's some sort of hilarious scenes between him and Iron and stuff. And again, it's just one of those fun rides. If you're into video games at all and you like comedies, I think you cannot go wrong with Mythic Quest. Obviously, this is season 3, so I'm speaking to people that have seen season 1 and 2 just to sort of give my ringing endorsement of season 3. But go back and watch it from the start, because this is one of those shows that just it sort of rings very true to video game players. You may not get it if you don't like video games. My wife, though, to be honest, she has watched every season with me, and obviously she may get a bit out of it because she's married to a gamer. Hashtag real gamer. So I don't know whether that's where it is her, but she just enjoys the show as well. So it's just one of those shows that a lot of people can get into. It's light, it's fun. So definitely get into season 3 if you get a chance. I know, Bully, are you au fait with season 1 or 2 at all?
No, you have mentioned it in the past, and it slipped onto my backlog. It was only when you mentioned it the other day when we were texting, and I thought, oh, geez, I keep meaning to jump into it and haven't yet, but I will get into it this week and at least get through season 1 and see how we go.
Not after you get to JB tomorrow, you won't, mate.
Oh, JB.
Any closing thoughts, Unky?
No, no close thoughts really. Just as I said, if you're a video game player and you like sort of comedies and lighthearted TV, sort of get into this. If you've got a partner on the side that's not as into video games, they might still like it.
Indeed. Just to back you up, mate, I love seasons 1 and 2. And as I said, I'm only a couple into season 3, but loving it as well. So if you enjoyed 1 and 2, there's no reason you won't enjoy 3. Get on board. I agree with Unky. Bully, I'm going to put a small side pot on and say you're not going to get to this at all this year.
I'll take you on that, and I'll start watching it after the show.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right, then. Game 3 this evening is me playing some Windjammers. I've put maybe 16 minutes into Windjammers in total. And I'm going to, spoiler alert, I don't think I'll ever be going back to it. Now, the real reason we're talking about it tonight is if you'd heard it, because it had a relatively decent presence from a marketing standpoint when it launched, which was early last year, I want to say, maybe Jan or Feb last year, it feels like, March possibly. And I'd never gotten around to it. It's appeared in Game Pass, but the reason I'm highlighting it now is it's about to leave Game Pass. It's 4 more days in the service, and then Windjammers 2 is out of Game Pass. So if you yet to check it out, as I was very tardy, it was sitting on my backlog for a long time. Scratch yourself out about 15 minutes just to go hands-on to say you've done it. Oh, and I've just seen the character creator, Bully, right there. Unky, is that you with the pink hair, mate, the pink mustache and the green shades? Is that based on you at all?
I can neither confirm or deny, Troy.
Okay, he's going stealth mode. In that case, Bully, any comments?
I have seen some hairdos attached to Unky, and that wouldn't be too far astray, I wouldn't have thought.
If only I could grow facial hair.
A little fake pink mustache, I think, could come up a treat on you, Unky. Go for it.
I did have a look. Was that 12 months ago it was released, so January last year. I'm not quite sure how long it's been on Game Pass for, but I'm about the same. You were mentioning it the other day, and I jumped onto it and had a look and maybe played 2 games, and that was more than enough for me. It might be as good as a couch co-op or an online type thing, but I just can't see you playing against the AI for too long at all. In fact, 5-10 minutes was about all I got out of it.
I don't understand where all the high praise was coming from. I recall when it launched, Windjammers 2. I feel like I heard it everywhere. Having finally gone hands-on, I got no idea what everyone was banging on about. Go for it.
So, I was going to say, I think it might be the multiplayer thing, because it's very similar to your Mario Karts and those sort of things, and Smash Brothers. They're okay by themselves, but it's the real enjoyment and the excitement you get out of playing games like that is playing against, couch co-op's obviously the best one because you've got someone sitting there next to you. But if not, obviously we've moved into the online space in the last, 10 or 15 years. And if it's an online thing where you can chat to the person that you're playing against and there's a bit of verbal sparring back and forth as you're playing it, I can see you getting a bit more enjoyment out of it. How much longer, I don't know. But as you said, 10 or 15 minutes was enough for me.
Yeah, well, here's a point for you, mate. This is in Game Pass. It's about to leave. If you want to check it out, you should. But my counter to your point just then, mate, if I was going to couch co-op with someone with a sporting-like game with a net involved, there's no way I would play this over Rocket League. Like, this doesn't hold a candle to Rocket League. I just don't understand the praise for it. Unky, did you go hands-on, mate?
Yeah, I remember covering this probably months, maybe when it hit Game Pass. Was it last year?
Yeah, it must have been. I think the min chips in Game Pass is 3 months, so minimum it was November last year.
Yeah, so I reckon I definitely covered it very briefly as well. I probably put in maybe 20 minutes. I was a little bit higher on it at the time. Like, I actually really enjoyed the arcade style of it and the sort of battling of it. And I don't know, there probably wasn't much else to play at that time, clearly, if I was actually enjoying this. But I'm not going to go back to it. It doesn't take up much room in your console, and it's no longer on my console. So that probably says enough about it.
Fair enough. Speaking of saying enough about it, I suggest we move on to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Unky Dunky, continue, sir. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. No, so I know we've spoken about this one before, but it is backlog season, and this is one of those ones that I have kept going back to during this whole period, and which I didn't kind of expect really. Like this is the first Pokemon I've got into in the way that I have, and I found myself just whenever I got a spare time, just sitting down and just putting on Pokemon because it's just joyous to be in that world, and I think they nailed the open world Pokemon, even though it doesn't run that well. I haven't had any of the major glitches a lot of other people have. I have had no hard crashes, so there was rumors there was a patch that sort of went out that sort of stabilized performance and stuff like that. And I've heard that digitally owning the game as opposed to having a cartridge can sort of help as well with performance. But no, I'm only 2 gyms away from finishing all the gyms. I've defeated every Titan Pokemon except one. Which is how you unlock the abilities for that Pokemon that you ride. So I can glide now, I can swim, I can sprint. The only one I can't do yet is climb mountains. So I've unlocked all those abilities, and I think I've only got 3 of the bases still to conquer. So I'm getting there. This is more Pokemon than I've ever played before, and I think it's due to that nature that they've managed to nail with this open world. And I'm hoping this is where they keep Pokemon in the future and they can work on it and actually bring out a game that's not as buggy as this one was, which is the only thing really happening because this is such a great experience from top to bottom apart from that performance.
Fair enough, mate. I am not a Pokemon player, so I have no points. But Bully, any additional thoughts this week on the old Pokemon Violet, Scarlet, Diamonds and Pearls? I forget its name already.
No, pretty much what Unky said. It's just it's the new iteration of Pokemon. I think I've said in a couple of episodes back. I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't throw the Arceus style type stuff into it. I know that wasn't as big an open world, but the fact that you could sort of sneak around and in the grass or behind rocks and lob the Pokeballs at the wild Pokemon, and then ultimately end up fighting that way if you didn't catch them. I thought that was a good little gameplay addition that they haven't brought into these ones, which is probably the only negative I'd say. Otherwise, exactly what Unky said, the open world's fantastic. The fact that you can basically go anywhere and do anything, and you don't have to do it in any particular order, which is normally the flavour of the Pokemon games. You can go and conquer any of the gyms in whatever order you like, and do all those sort of side quests in whatever order you like, or if there's an area with a certain Pokemon that you want to go and go to that area. That's something that we haven't really seen before. And glitches aside, which let's be honest, I know it got a hammering when it first came out, but there's plenty of games that have been released in the last couple of years that have been heavily glitched on day one, and have had the patches come out in the following weeks, and have ultimately earned praise across the board. So I can't see where this is any different. They seem to be doing the right thing and actually going back and trying to fix the issue. So hopefully that just sort of continues.
Very good. Unky, any closing thoughts, mate, on the old Pokemon?
No, nothing really. Just that if you've sort of never really been into Pokemon before, then this might be sort of, your entry point if you're a Breath of the Wild fan or something like that. And this is, and it's sort of, you like open world, and this is sort of invokes that kind of same thing where you go anywhere, do anything you want. And just providing that freedom, I think, is just what makes this game fun. There is no structure. You can literally go do what you want. It gives you that sense of adventure that you probably want in this kind of a game. And it's, it's got the Pokemon name on it, so it's going to sell no matter what. But at least they're giving me a reason to play it now. And I'm going to go out. This is not Pokemon related at all. I'm just going to shout out my wife, who just asked if I wanted a drink, and she actually just made me a Toblerone cocktail.
Whoa.
And it's just delicious. Just like Pokemon. There you go.
Yeah, go on, mate. Have her send one over.
I'll send her now.
Cheers. All right, Bully, over to you, mate, for some Call of Duty action.
I'll just keep this one brief, but it's we've spoken about it probably at length, but we'll just sort of concentrate on the multiplayer. They've got. I was a bit critical of it when they changed from the shoot house, where's their sort of their one map that you could actually pick as opposed to just doing the quick play and getting random maps. I really enjoyed the shoot house. I know you and I, Troy, played a fair bit on that one, and then they switched it over to the shipment 24/7, which is a lot more condensed map. Wasn't much of a fan of it to start with, but if you have a squeeze at that footage that's rolling in the background and see if we can get to the back end of that and see how many kills old Bully gets on this one.
Oh, look, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it and just say, everyone, check out the channel. About 2-3 videos back on the channel. We've got it, the 70 kill highlight reel. Bully at his finest. Bully, help me out, mate. It was your choice of backing track for that one. I'm totally blanking on the name we went with.
It was Son of a Sinner by Roly Poly.
There you have it. So Son of a Sinner Roly Poly is the underlying music accompanying the footage you're seeing now. But as I said, it's a 70 kill. Not all 70 kills are in there, to be clear. Oh, there it is right there. Boom. End of the round. It was just some fantastic
Can
action.
I just point something out though? I know we're
mate.
banging on about Bully, but who's actually the leader on that board, Troy?
Let's just zoom in, shall we? Oh, what's going on there?
Is it the hashtag real gamer? It's all about the objective, Bully. Who cares about 70 kills when you can't even play the objective?
You can only sit on the objective for 3 minutes and 18 seconds if you got someone looking over your shoulder and picking them off as they're coming at you, getting the 70 kills.
Oh no, I think we've got a hashtag real camper right here.
Hashtag teamwork.
It's the first time I've ever been tagged in one of those. All right, boys, let's kick in some newsroom doors. Who, Unky Dunky, has the right to remain newsworthy this week? Off the top, it looks like Xbox and Bethesda Raider mentioned, mate. What's happening?
They do. There was rumours as of only yesterday that this was happening, and then as of this morning, they confirmed it. So this news story changed very swiftly in the fact that we've confirmed a Xbox Bethesda Developer Direct for January 25, which it's looking like it's not going to be anything sort of too fancy. It doesn't look like it's one like a Nintendo Direct or the PlayStation one that they do, but a sort of deep dive in a lot of the games they've already sort of announced that they are coming this year. I think their last showcase, they literally went through all their games that are coming in the next 12 months. So we sort of already know what's coming, but this is sort of more of a deep dive into some of those games. I think we're getting Elder Scrolls Online, Forza Motorsport, Minecraft Legends, Redfall. We're not getting anything on Starfield. Apparently, they've announced that it's going to get its own showcase, which I think is good. I think a game as big as Starfield, you're probably going to have a bigger deep dive in that, and I don't think it would fit into one of these shows where it's just sort of as a part of it. And Redfall for me is probably the big one out of this that I want to see. It's probably the one I'm most excited for from Xbox, apart from Starfield this year. But no, it'd be interesting to see sort of what we get from Xbox with this and all the extra details. So still a couple of weeks away for us here, but I'm excited to see sort of what they can bring. And I'm hoping what we really need to get from Xbox is release dates, because 2022 very slim for games for Xbox. They haven't been in a Game of the Year conversation for how many years now, I don't know. So they need to give us something big. Starfield's probably their first bet. I think it's sort of hitting up the Game of the Year awards towards the end of the year, so they can't sort of fail with that. So I know we've got a release date for it at the moment. Whether that gets pushed,
what's the current release date? Sorry, mate.
That's a good question. I knew you were
Bully,
going to ask that.
Bully. Bully, get typing. Can I ask you, Unky, are you anticipating new Redfall gameplay footage? That's what I'm hoping for. That's a big one for me.
Yeah, I think we will get more gameplay footage of Redfall, especially if they're going to go with a deep dive and stuff. And this was a game that I wasn't really excited for until that last showcase where they did show what the gameplay is going to be like. And I prefer the aesthetic this game's going for over something like what we got with what's it called, Deathloop.
Yes.
I shouldn't say that. I actually quite like the aesthetic of Deathloop. I just didn't like the gameplay loop as such.
Nag part.
No pun intended. But this game looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Like, it's got a bit of Back for Blood about it, where you can sort of play the game solo and sort of take out the vampires and stuff, and then get people to jump in and play the game with you. So that's something I'm really looking forward to, and especially as how much I loved Back for Blood last year and got back into that, and I'm literally just downloading a patch as we speak to jump back into that game again this year. So very much looking forward to that.
And last time we discussed Redfall, I pointed out my disappointment at the last time we saw it. There was no hint of a Massachusetts accent anywhere, even though that's where the game's set. Just wanted to take the temperature of both you blokes. What do you reckon the chances are we'll hear a Massachusetts accent in this upcoming Developer Direct for Redfall?
Yeah, I don't know whether they had feedback like that and they've gone back to the drawing board, but I dare say by the time we were getting shown the game last time, all those assets and all those voice settings probably already done. So unless there's a character we haven't seen, which most likely there are, they didn't show every character. There's no way they could have at a showcase. So I dare say you're probably going to get your accent at some point there, Troy.
Fingers crossed, Bully. What are my hopes?
I want to see someone from Boston. Boston.
So so what are your thoughts? Like, this showcase, does it do anything for you guys?
I'm pumped. I can't wait. Sorry, go, Bully.
No, I was going to say, just as a side note, Redfall, they're aiming at this stage, as of last week, they're aiming for a May release this year, but nothing confirmed. In terms of Starfield was pushed. I think they're talking about, or you give us your thoughts on the thing, Troy.
I was going to say, I was going to question as well. Which one do you think drops first? Do you think we get Redfall or Starfield first?
Well, my hope is, but I need to hear the release date from Blue first, so I'm going to hold off on my hope. I'm just going to go from the top, though. I know we've kind of started bottom up. The top of this list, the first one they mentioned is the Elder Scrolls Online. For me, I really don't care at all about the
Agreed.
game. So if they open with Elder Scrolls Online, it's going to be quite the soft opening to the package. But then they've got Forza Motorsport. Now, I'm a huge Forza Motorsport fan. I've got the steering wheel over there. Oh, the steering wheel, Bully. Come on, mate. Give us your impressions. We know you in hands. Well, no one else knows. I know you in hands on this week. Tell us some things about your experience.
Best to be just sticking to drive real cars, I think. That was some atrocious driving.
Sorry,
Starfield.
I'm going to jump in quickly. So if I've been there in the studio and played with the steering wheel as well, and obviously Bully's now been there. If you had to compare skills and award the #RealGamer skill for driving with the steering wheel, who's going to be awarded that award?
Well, I got to say, if we're doing a scale of 1 to 10, I thought I was on a 10, and then you came into the studio and showed me what a real 10 was, and I realized I was a 2. And then Bully's come in, and I reckon Bully's sitting at an easy 5.
Okay, cool. That's all. I just wanted to get that settled. #RealGamer. There you go. Doesn't matter what genre, I'm coming for you.
I love
it. Starfield, they're aiming in the first half of 2023. So
perfect.
At this stage, that looks like they're going to be dropping within a couple of months.
Here's my prediction. That I'm glad your information doesn't contradict what I was going to predict. Do you recall? I'm going off the top of my head here. I feel like it was 6 weeks between. Was it? I'm pretty sure Far Cry 4. They did the big announce reveal, and then 6 weeks later it was out. I'm going to assert they're going for the same thing here. We're going to get this developer direct on, was it the 25th of this month?
25th, yeah.
Yeah, I reckon the 25th of this month we get the developer direct. And I reckon mid next month, I reckon like February 15, we're going to get the full deep dive into Starfield. And then I reckon they're going for end of March release. I reckon end of March, we're going to see the actual launch of Starfield. I reckon they're going for the 1-2. Developer direct, couple of weeks pass. Here's the Starfield deep dive, and in 6 weeks, you'll be hands-on in Game Pass. How does that sound to anyone?
Yeah, I think so too, because what Starfield was supposed to be end of 2022 initially, so they've had a bit of extra time now, and I think at the end of this show, I think they'll give us a date for the showcase for Starfield. And you're right, I think, the fact that they announced Fallout 4 and then within a few months it was out. So I can definitely see them doing that with this one, but I can also see another sort of world where Starfield, with the issues we've had with games releasing not finished, and especially something like Cyberpunk, I could easily see it. If that game's not ready to go, they're pushing it again, and they're not going to care because they know as we mentioned before, Xbox has not had a game of the year contender and has not had a big IP for years that has been in that echelon. They really do, and they can't afford to have it come out and then just be fixed with patches. So if the game's not ready to go, they're going to push it. So I could see it going one of two ways.
I agree. Bully, your thoughts, mate? What's our release date for Starfield?
The issue I'd be looking at is if you're talking the first half of this year and it starts banking towards sort of May, June, you're going to find yourself right in the middle of the new Breath of the Wild or the new Zelda game.
Yep.
The Tears of the Kingdom, and I don't think you want to be anywhere near that. And I'm talking probably a month either side. I don't think you want to be anywhere near that. Because
so how does a end of March date sit with you?
Well, I don't know if they're going to be ready by then, to be honest with you. And I sort of tend to agree with Unky that unless it's spit polished and ready to go day one, they're not going to release. So I'd almost be saying October.
Here's my counter to that, mate. I reckon if they were any doubt, if they hadn't already gone gold with Starfield, it would be in this lineup for this developer direct. I think they've already got the discs printed. I reckon they've got version 1 locked in. They're already working on the day 1 patch. It's already polished to a fine sheen. And that's why I'm saying it's, less than 2 months away from this point. I think because as Unky pointed out, I reckon a brilliant and one last thing for this is we'll see you again in a couple of weeks for the big Starfield deep dive, not give a date, but then in just a couple of weeks, do the Starfield deep dive, and it's coming out in 6 weeks, end of March. See you soon.
Well, you might have a supporter in there because Tigaro in the chat saying 23rd of March competing with Resi 4. I don't know if you want to be doing that one either, but...
Bethesda would take a big shit in their lunch if they did that. I love the idea of it.
Well, Well, I suppose if you're going to go, I know Resi 4 is always a fan favourite, but if you're going to,
but it's Game Pass that so takes the sales. Sorry.
Yeah, but I was going to say if you're going to back a winner on the out of the two of those, I would have gone with Starfield anyway to beat Resi 4. Going
Just don't tell that to
because
Chigaro, because I think pretty sure Resident Evil 4 is his, one of his favourite games of all time. So you're not going to win that argument against Chigaro. But I think we're all in agreement. So the G.E.A. that Starfield will eat any game's lunch that it comes out around it. Maybe not Zelda.
Yum, 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 yum. So, Bully, thoughts on Elder Scrolls Online? Unky and I were a hard pass.
Elder Scrolls Online, did you say?
Yeah, it's in this developer direct.
No.
Yeah, very
I
good.
think I've tried to go. I love the Elder Scrolls single player games. I've tried to get into this one numerous times. The same as Fallout 76, and it's just not the same.
I agree. We've covered Forza Motorsport, Minecraft Legends. I'm interested on behalf of my boys, but the game itself, for me personally, does nothing. You fellas?
No, as again, like my little fella loves his Minecraft, and that's sort of all he plays. I never really got into the Minecraft Dungeons game, which is actually pretty cool. Like I think it was on Game Pass. I'm not sure if it still is, but
yeah, it is, and it will live there forever because Microsoft own Mahjong who do it. So yeah,
and there was I think there's a sequel announced for that as well. So Minecraft Legends is a more PvP multiplayer sort of RPG game they got coming out for that as well. So not too interested in that. And then we obviously were speaking about Redfall as well, and part of this showcase. So no, it should be a pretty decent showcase, I reckon.
Bully, your thoughts? Minecraft Legends?
Probably the same. Bit of interest for the kids.
Yep.
That's probably about it. And the showcase as a whole, just looking over that, I think there's some okay stuff to look at. I'm hoping that there's some sort of other announcements rather than just games you already know about. I'm hoping that they drop, one or two teasers just to keep us going through into mid-year when we get to what's going to be, we'll see, maybe a revamped E3 or whatever they're going to do. Some Game Fest or whatever it is.
Yep. And does anyone think we're going to see any sort of little indie type showcase? Do you reckon there will be, and here's 6 indies coming to the Game Pass in the next month or something?
Nah, if we haven't announced it yet, I don't think we've seen anything on that yet.
Fair call. All right, then. Story 2 this evening. Naughty Dogs. Neil Druckmann wants to focus on stuff. Unky, clear up my mess there, please.
So this is Naughty Dog. Neil Druckmann wants to focus less on cutscenes and traditional narrative. So the story goes on to say, I think he did an interview where he's alluded to the fact that he's liking the fact that games are trying to tell stories without cutscenes and stuff. Granted, his
Should
games
I be thinking God of War? Is that what he's getting at?
I think he was more getting it towards something like an Elden Ring, where
okay, sure.
Exploring a world and sort of figuring out the story is part of it. And I think with The Last of Us and stuff, it already happens. There's moments with the whole Ishmael story in Last of Us Part 1, which Bully will have just completed, where you're sort of going through the tunnels and finding the story of this guy that sort of washed up on shore with the boat, and he's gone through and created this little town in the sewers and stuff like that. And that's all stuff that you have to sort of go dig through and find find the story within the world as opposed to just being told to you. So I like the idea here that Neil Druckmann's essentially confirming we're getting Elden Ring Last of Us. And we're going to be in open world. And I think it's more so that we're probably going to see stuff like Elden Ring bleed into the new multiplayer stuff that we've got coming up with The Last of Us Factions 2.0, or they haven't given it a name yet. But the fact that we could have this open world sort of storytelling stuff where you're sort of moving through the world and letting the areas you're exploring tell the story, whether it's, you've got different factions from The Last of Us in Last of Us Part 2, which they brought in, where you go to certain areas and those areas will tell a story just by the way they look and all that kind of stuff, and instead of just sort of throwing cutscenes down your throat, which you probably don't need in a multiplayer game. It's just going to slow people's progress, and it's never fun when you're playing a multiplayer game and you have to sit there and watch someone watch a cutscene because they haven't played that part before. So I can see where he's coming from. So I do like, yes. So I like the fact that he's come out and said, "Yeah, we're working on another game. Not everyone may like it," which is true to say about something like Elden Ring. Elden Ring, it's won a lot of Game of the Year awards, but it's going to be a lot of people that never play that game due to the fact that it's difficult. There is no sort of story per se that's sort of easy to follow. You sort of have to work for it. So if they could go down that route, a Naughty Dog, I trust whatever they're going to do. I mean, I'm a fan of Elden Ring. You're a fan of Elden Ring. So I like those gameplay aspects of a video game. And if Naughty Dog can do something with their pedigree and then sort of blend it into the gameplay aspects of something like that with an open world, I cannot wait to see what they can do.
My request, don't hide the narrative in little boxes with glowy blue bits on them, because I'm going to miss them. Bully, any thoughts on this one?
Wait, just on that, I believe you're talking about Callisto Protocol. Just while you gave me the little segue, because I've got to talk about it before, did manage to finally roll credits on Callisto.
I am that far behind you, halfway through the last level.
Love it. I did, buck the urge to drop that difficulty down just to take out that last boss, but I jumped in there the other day, and it was one of those ones where I hadn't played it for a while because I knew all I had to do was beat that last boss, and it was so frustrating that
we know how much you love to leave a last boss save file for yourself.
I do love to leave a last boss. Get up that last boss and just leave the game for weeks on end until you forget how to actually play the game. You've got to jump back in there and hope muscle memory kicks in, and sometimes it doesn't. I forgot how to actually crush those little blue boxes. I'm running around and like hitting buttons. I'm like, Dead Space is normally R2. I'm like, it took me a while to figure out it was just triangle to get these things, but finally took this guy down, and yeah, love Callisto. I can't wait. I'm holding off on a second playthrough till they add that new game plus, but that's just a little segue. Sorry.
Well, no, hold on, man. I'll tie it back in for you. I love in Callisto the non-traditional narrative. The what do you call it? Now I'm going to say it's only in the last level, but no, it's not. It's throughout the game where they've got the blue holograms that'll pop up. You'll be walking through a level, and a blue hologram will pop up, and it's a pre-recorded message from the CEO or whoever, other scientists, that sort of thing. That in-world storytelling for me, that is top notch. That is another highlight of Callisto Protocol, where they absolutely smacked it out of the park. It reminded me of BioShock with the audio records that just play automatically. You pick them up, they start playing, you just keep on playing.
Yes.
And the audio's in the background, very much like that, the holograms. And I absolutely love Callisto Protocol for that non-traditional narrative. Bully, any thoughts on this story, mate?
I find it quite humorous that he comes out the same week that they're releasing the TV show and saying we're going to cut down on our traditional storytelling, and the cutscenes are out, they're no good.
He never said they're no good. He said they're a major part of storytelling, and they're never going to go away from that. He just likes the idea of utilising this other stuff as well.
That'd be like releasing Starfield the same week as the Resident Evil 4 remake.
Who would do that?
Well, it's funny you say that because Ty actually said as well. He reckons that Resi would stand up head to head.
I knew he would. He would die before he admits that. The Resi 4 is going to lose anything.
Look, in terms of I don't think you can really cut. Pardon the pun. You can't cut the cutscenes out of every game. There needs to be something in there. My only issue is, and some games do it better than others, where you have the collectibles or the pickups that tell fractions of stories, and then you go and find another bit and it tells you a bit more to the story, or you have your audio logs and stuff like that. The only thing I would say to that is that if it's going to be a written one that you have to sit there and read, it needs to be relatively short, because I hate getting bogged down for 2 or 3 minutes at a time to read through this whole thing and then go, okay, now what was I doing?
That's never happened to me.
And because you don't. It happened with me a lot in Tunic. I don't know.
Now, you say that. I think Last of Us, as you could probably talk to this, especially if you did this part in the game, but that sort of side mission with Ishmael and the boat and stuff, none of that reading was extensive. But it was also visual. Like, they told that story through what was happening within the world and stuff you could see. So it was. I reckon that was one of those perfect moments in Last of Us. There's a lot of other stuff about Ellie and Joel stuff, but I think that was one of the side stories in that game that you could breeze right past if you're just not even focused on it. But if you sort of take the time to sort of explore that world and see what's going on, as well as the notes that he's left, it's such an impactful moment in that game.
How about 100%,
100% sorry, agree. And then the audio logs that go out as well. I don't mind the audio log, but I don't like having to stand there and listen to 2 or 3 minutes of an audio log. If you're going to put that in there,
they've got to play in the background.
100%. Allow me to continue playing the game while that runs in the background. And then if you're going to get up to a point where it's a cutscene, maybe just shutter you and just say, well, hang on, or put up the old invisible wall, wait for that to play through the audio log, and then step over the void into the cutscene or whatever it is. But I think they do it pretty well anyway, in terms of exactly what you said, Unky, is that they meld these things off to the side that you can miss. And if you want to go and explore that sort of thing and get involved with that, you can, and you might get something else out of the game. But they also throw in, I don't think, really over the top cutscenes anyway. They're not long, they're not protracted. You're not sitting there watching the cutscene going, "Oh, come on, I'm just sick. Can we just get back to the gameplay?" They don't. I think they've got that good sort of balance as it is anyway. So I don't think they need to move too far away from where they're at. But if they were to cut it down a little bit and add some of those extra additional or bonus things in the background, I've got no issue with that. But I'd be loath, especially given the way that Naughty Dog have developed as a studio over the last sort of 15 years with the releases of Uncharted and Naughty Dog and so not Naughty Dog and The Last of Us, is that they've really expanded on their ability to tell a decent story. And if you're going to just stop where they are and then pivot and change course, again, I trust what they're doing. They're a great studio, but I'd just be probably a little cautious of moving too far away from what they've done really well for 15, 20 years.
Any chance this was Neil Druckmann just taking a side swipe at Marvel's Midnight Suns? The whole Abby section.
I'm sure Neil Druckmann's played a lot of that game.
All right, story 3 this evening. We're not going too far at all. It's more of The Last of Us. I've got to do one of these jobbies to get it to catch up. All right, The Last of Us TV, first TV, something, Unky?
It's The Last of Us, first great TV show of 2023. So by all accounts, all the reviews started dropping. I think it was a couple of nights ago for this, as they've had their premiere. And by all accounts, this is looking like a bloody good show. Like with obviously Neil Druckmann helming it with the creator of Chernobyl. Chernobyl, a great show. I've never seen it, but it apparently was an amazing show on HBO. So them
I
two
hear
working
it was a real
together.
wasteland of a TV show.
No. Anyway,
Troy's very punny tonight.
He's very punny tonight. No, this is looking really good, and from all accounts, the trailers and stuff, I cannot wait for this show. From reading some of the reviews, they do step away from the lead characters every now and again, and some of those, the best episodes apparently going out there. Apparently, there's a whole episode about Bill and his relationship before the characters get there and meeting like you do in the game. So they reckon that is really well done. And just how we were speaking about the Ishmael story, I kind of now reading these reviews saying they go away from the main characters. I kind of hope we get that story before our characters get there as well. And it's a standalone episode where we get to see these characters interact and we see that story. I could really see Neil sort of leaning into that, the fact that it wasn't sort of covered in the game because you just couldn't do that with the way the narrative works. But in a TV show, you can easily make something like that work.
Do you think it'd be Mythic Quest style? Episode 5. Here we go. We're going back 20 years, and then back for episode 6.
Absolutely, I could see it doing stuff like that and playing with timelines and stuff, which is what I think the luxury of having a TV show and going back to telling a story. I like that Neil's there because, from all accounts, the stuff that from the video game really sticks true. And for the people that love the game, you're not going to be disappointed that they've missed out on certain things. Apparently, some of it's shot for shot for the video game, which maybe you could argue that it feels a bit more like watching someone else's playthrough of the video game. And what's the point of that? But I'm really excited to see what these actors can bring to the role. And as I said, from all accounts with these reviews, these guys absolutely nailed Joel and Ellie. I'm still not quite sold on Bella Ramsey as Ellie just yet, just from her look standpoint. I think she looks a little bit far removed from the characters in the game, but that's fine. If she plays the role well, I'm more than happy. And it's more about the relationship between Joel and her more than anything else. And I'm hoping they nail it. I cannot wait for. I think it's next Monday, the 16th. I think we're getting it.
Do we know on what service?
It's like HBO Max. I think we're getting it on
here,
Binge.
Is
it
Binge?
Yeah, Binge Foxtel. So I haven't read anywhere what we're getting in terms of it, whether it's a week-to-week release or they're just dropping the whole season. I'm not sure what HBO and Binge normally do.
Week-to-week release, and I think for Australian time, I think it's about 1 p.m.-ish Eastern.
On the Monday, yeah. And I've heard first episode movie length at about an hour and 40 or something. So
either of you blokes feeling a little sick maybe that day? You're gonna catch it live?
Well, I'll be night shift, so I'll probably be asleep at that point when it actually comes out. But I might actually
set the alarm.
I reckon I'll be up there watching it in the afternoon when I wake up. So, but my wife has already said she'll sit down and even watch this with me. So it's not quite Mythic Quest, but I'm hoping she'll enjoy it.
Did she? She must have seen you play The Last of Us at some point. I've
finished the game about 5 times, so she's sort of seen it's here and there. But I don't know if she would know narrative-wise stuff that goes on. She may know the start of the game where Sarah dies, but even then, if I asked her what happened at the start of Last of Us, I'm not 100% confident she'd be able to tell me.
She might know, mate, but has she happened to say? Is it seeing your gameplay previously that's excited her for the TV show, or are they totally different things for her? Like, is she excited for the TV show because of the TV show trailers?
To be honest, I think it's more her being excited to see me be excited about the show.
Fair enough.
So it's not so much that I think she wants to watch it, but she knows it's something that I really enjoy, and
Yep.
she'll sit down and watch it with me. And just it's always more fun watching a show with someone else, so you can sort of experience it. And I'm going to be there nerding out. Oh, this is the bit from the game, and she won't care at all, but she'll humor me, and it's going to be more fun watching it with someone else and being able to talk to her about it. But I'm sure we'll definitely be talking about it week to week on G.E.A. episode by episode, and hopefully it goes more fondly than our Halo recap, which I think you watched maybe the first 2 episodes, and I was the unfortunate soul that watched the. Actually, no, you fell asleep during episode 1. Didn't you?
Yeah, you've got confused. I tried to watch the first episode twice and fell asleep 5 minutes in both times. So there was 2 viewings. It was first 5 minutes of episode 1 and just hard parts.
Oh, cool. I think I'm pretty confident in saying I'll have both you boys on board with this one week to week.
I am, I'm cranked up to 11 on my hype for this one. I cannot wait for this show to drop. I am
I mean, I was hyped, and then once the reviews came in, I was even more hyped, knowing that pretty much all outlets are just glowing about it. So Bully, sorry.
Oh no, I agree with you. I can't wait for it to come out. As you said, the reviews have been fantastic. We'll just wait and see, I guess. I don't know. Some of the reviews I read, though, were for more TV reviewers / movie reviewers, and I don't know how much of an understanding of the background of the game and all that sort of stuff they have, or whether they're just sort of judging on the fact that it's just a TV show and this is a new release TV show that we're looking at. I know that there's some that would have looked at it from both lenses, but
I rate it higher if they are just TV critics and reviewing it as a TV show. And even if they're talking it up, I think I can, it'll be icing on the cake knowing the game,
Yeah, maybe to a degree, but I suppose I sort of look at it a little bit the other way and go, they're just looking at it purely from a storytelling perspective, as we're probably going to look at it from more of the storytelling, but how does it tie in? Does it tie in properly? Have they missed things? Have they oversighted things? But as you said, Unky, I know Neil Druckmann's had a fair bit of involvement with the TV show and the oversight of that as well. So things
is that
like
why Factions keeps getting kicked down the road? Where are you, Neil? Get back into the studio, mate. Crack the whip.
He was just in a different studio.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing gives me a fair bit of hope that those little things that, the guys that have played through or girls that have played through the games and really enjoyed those and know the story almost inside and out are going to be able to sit there and go, yep, I remember that part, or yep, that rings true, or yep, that expands on that little bit that we just got a glimpse of in the game and that sort of stuff. So 100% looking forward to it. I reckon, what am I doing? First day back at work on Monday. Try and work something out.
Nothing like calling in sick first day back after some leave, is there?
That's it.
Yeah, that goes down like a lead.
And I have to shout out, like initially when they announced Pedro Pascal as Joel, I wasn't sold initially because they showed all these other actors who could play him. But looking at the screenshots of him and looking him in live, I'm like, and I know how good an actor he is. I cannot wait to see his take on Joel.
Indeed. Now, how keen are you for the Jim Cryan DLC, $20, to get the character model of the actress from the TV show to be inserted in and played in The Last of Us Part 1 remake? So instead of the Ellie based on, I'm blanking on her name.
Oh, the Ellie actress from Last of Us?
The real Ellie actress from The Last of Us. Alicia? No.
No, it's going to come to me. Ashley Johnson.
Ashley Johnson. So you'll be able to switch out Ashley Johnson's character model for a representation of the TV show for $20. How does that sit with you boys?
Well, no, someone's already modded her face into the PC version of The Last of Us. So sorry, Jim Cryan, you're not going to be charged us money for that. What we will get charged money for, you watch now. They did it with Uncharted when the game came out. Fortnite has got a Tom Holland and a Nathan Drake skin in there under Uncharted. I guarantee you're going to see a version of Joel and Ellie in Fortnite with both their game versions and their movie versions. Mark my word.
I look forward to grinding out those ones. Bully, quick draw on the Jim Cryan there, mate. I love your work. All right, the story for this evening. Unky Dunky, I'm not even going to bother trying to reel it off, mate. Just over to you. Story 4.
No, that's okay. This is a small one. You might remember this game is G.E.A's winner of Best Soundtrack 2022. Shredder's Revenge is now on mobile, exclusive to Netflix members. So I did jump into this just today. I was at work and I saw the news story and I just thought
You're
I'd give it a crack.
on Android?
Yeah, I'm on Android.
7-inch or 6-inch, like a large-ish phone?
Yeah, large-ish phone. Got the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, whatever it is, one of the newer ones. But yeah, just jumped into my Netflix app on my phone, typed in TMNT comes up straight away in the gaming app. It takes you straight to the game center to download. Jumps on your phone, doesn't take that long at all, and then you're straight into Shredder's Revenge, and it looks as good as it does on console. Obviously, on this tiny little LED screen, it's going to look amazing. And
how's that soundtrack sound?
Soundtrack's just as good as it always has been.
Perfect. And how do you go with the stylus input on your note?
No style. Well, this one actually doesn't have the stylus with it. They got rid of the stylus with the most recent version.
How do they still call it a note then?
Well, maybe it's not a note. Maybe it's something else. I reckon the note was a lot. I don't know what this one's called. But yeah, anyway, it plays really well. The controls are just sort of, you got a digital sort of control pad on the screen. You got your buttons on the side to press. But yeah, by all accounts, not quite as good as playing with the old arcade stick, Troy, that you brought around.
How could it be?
How could, exactly right. But definitely a cool experience. It's it's free to play through the Netflix app. So if you got no other means to play this game, you love Ninja Turtles, bloody oath, download it on your Android or iOS.
Now, I've never gone hands-on with the Netflix gaming app. Unky, just a quick one. Any idea how many games are in there? I've got no idea.
I've got no idea either.
But does it feel like there's 3 in there or more like 30?
There's probably more. Yeah, you're probably looking at more 50 to 100. I think from looking at the App Store, I haven't really sort of scrolled much to it because it's never really sort of piqued my interest until I saw this, and I just thought, the fact that there's a new store, I'll give it a go and see how well it works. And yeah, it was seamless. It just jumped in straight away, and it's just like the console experience on a handheld. So
any cross-play? Could you import your save?
No, I didn't. I don't know if you can. I haven't read anywhere that you can import your saving. You could probably look through the news article and see if there is any, cross save or cross progression. But from looking at the game, I don't think there was. I think it's just standalone for Android.
You didn't sign in with your Xbox Live account at any part in TNMT?
No, it doesn't really give you the option. No, I didn't go into the options whether that's a thing, but I imagine this is just a standalone experience for the iOS or Android. But as I said, if you love your Ninja Turtles, this game, incredible experience. If you've got no other way to play it, and you got Netflix on your phone or app, just do it, play it.
Nice one. And Bully, I think you're a big bumper hard pass on any mobile games.
100%. Just having a look though, it looks like there's about 40 games on.
Oh, nice work, Bully.
For the Netflix couple. Not really much of any sort of note, but the couple I've had a look at there, they're actually on some of the consoles. There was 12 minutes, which I don't know whether you guys have checked out. There's Kentucky Route Zero. Is on there as well, and some other high luminaries such as Too Hot to Handle, Love is a Game. Mm-hmm.
That sounds right, Bully's Alley, I reckon. That's got weed fan all over it.
If there was pigeons involved, then yes.
Oh, mate, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, if there's pigeons there, Bully's playing it for sure.
Tell you what, anytime.
Pigeon dating simulator, can't go wrong.
Oh, Hutterful Pigeon.
Yeah.
Anytime I put in more than 10 minutes on a smartphone game, my phone is too hot to handle, I reckon. All right, story 4 this evening. Unky, over to you, sir.
Oh, Ubisoft's imploding. Ubisoft has cancelled 3 unannounced games and delayed Skull and Bones again. Just cancel this bloody game. Like, what? It's been delayed how many times now? No one wants to play it.
I think this is the 12th.
It's ridiculous. Like, just can the game. I don't know why Ubisoft persists with this thing. It makes no sense.
Have you ever heard of the philosophy of throwing good money after bad? They are all in on that one.
Oh, they've put too much into it that they have to release it. But the fact that it's like a running joke now, every time they announce anything about this game, it's just getting delayed further and further. And, in 2022, being delayed, like I think the initial release date they had was like a November something, and that was actually not a bad time because there was, everything was sort of out, and I think that was going to come. And, I think Bully mentioned that he was, not excited to play it, but he would definitely give it a crack at that time. And then it got pushed back again. And you're into 2023, arguably one of the biggest years we're going to have for video games. And that's only with the stuff we already know about. And to push this game further into 2023, who knows what's going to come out, but it's not going to be at a good time at all. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with Ubisoft. They seem to be chasing trends at the moment. They don't really set the trend anymore. And, they chased the NFT stuff, and that was an absolute debacle at the time, like open world. Yeah.
Do they regret firing all their game directors a couple of years ago now, do you reckon?
Well, maybe.
The chickens come home to roost. Maybe we shouldn't have cancelled all our high-end game developers. Oh, maybe that was a mistake. Whoopsie. Bully, any thoughts, mate?
Oh, it's funny that this comes out today, and they've also, I think it was yesterday I was reading that the Mario plus Rabbids game is a soft seller that they were expecting a lot more out of that as well, which has
turned
done
into
well
the Mac as 50-cent soft serve.
Yeah, that was in this article as well, Bully. Yeah, they said they were.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, if you
So
scroll to the bottom of the article.
So there was that. There was the fact that they've cancelled 3 games and punted off one, and I know they were late last year they put out the news that they were going to be looking at a whole suite of Assassin's Creed type games. I don't know whether they're sort of going, well, they're always going to sell for us. Let's just put all our chips in those baskets and see how they go with that. And in lieu of other games like Watch Dogs, I don't think, the first one, I didn't think much chop of it. The second one was okay, and I don't think the third one did very well at all. So there's not much really out of that. Far Cry's been going downhill since 3, basically. I don't know really what they got.
I'd argue against that. I enjoyed the last couple of Far Cry's
I
quite a bit.
would argue against both Far Cry and Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs 2 was pretty soft, but I loved Watch Dogs Legion. That really lit me up. But the launch of the consoles, that one, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it didn't sell well though. I suppose that's what they'd be looking at though. Is it might have been an okay game, but it didn't sell well. The same with the Far Cry ones. I think the biggest selling one was still 3, and then it sort of slips a little bit away after that. But the one that does keep selling is Assassin's Creed. It just keeps selling and selling and selling. So, and it doesn't matter
what. You get to bring the hammer down. Maybe they just need to add Thor's hammer into a few more games.
And I think Rainbow Six Siege does all right as well. And I think,
well, having said that, the latest one that they put out, the one with the zombies, that tanked as well. So I know.
One with the zombies.
Extraction.
Yeah. So that
one.
Oh,
that had stinker written all over it. We called that as soon as they announced it. We said that was going nowhere, and sure enough, it went nowhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing though, is that there's some games that have been okay, but they haven't sold well, and there's been a lot of other games that are just flat out tanked. So maybe that's just what they're sort of looking at, is to going, we can't really invest in new IP at the moment because
we cancel all our game directors, and now no one's got any good ideas or leadership.
Well, as long as they're putting them all towards the new Splinter Cell game, I'll be happy.
Yeah, well, forgive me while I don't hold my breath on that one. Yeah,
rightly so.
Cool. I'll put Troy's tin foil hat on for a minute.
Oh, by all means, sir. There's plenty of room. Come on over.
I did that in Goat Simulator the other day as well.
But I was going to say Ubisoft for some time have been the target of acquisition, both just trying to buy out shares and some hard aggressive takeovers as well. I don't know how much that sort of played into the way the company's been run at the moment and the way things are being looked at, whether there's some of the I'll say interested parties or financial backers at the moment that might just be looking at things other than the way that Ubisoft and Yves Guillemot have always looked at things in the past and want the company to go in a different direction. I don't know what the background is with
profitability.
Well, I mean, there's that, but there's profitability, but you can't just be relying on the same tired old franchises over and over again, because eventually you're going to run out of consumer sentiment with them, and you're going to be left with nothing because you haven't invested in new IP. And if that's the way they're going to go, well, it might take another 10 or 15 years, but they'll run it into the ground, and there'll be nothing left. So I guess I sort of look at it that way, and I'm a bit worried about them, to be honest, is that they haven't really pumped out anything really of any decent note that's sold exceptionally well for a fairly significant period of time.
Indeed. Unky, any final thoughts on this one, mate, or should we bounce on out to the new releases?
No, let's bounce out to the new releases. Ubisoft's already shat the bed enough.
Indeed, they have. All right, here we go. Thanks to Game Informer, it is the list of games out this week. Unky Dunky, go for it, my friend.
Mate, this week we had a few more than last week. I think last week we only had 2, but there's nothing too much to write home about this week anyway. But we'll go through them. We've got Children of Silent Town, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch and PC, January 11. We have Kart Rider Drift on PC, iOS, and Android. This one actually piqued my interest a bit after, looking up Ninja Turtles on the Android. This one looks like a kind of Mod Nation Races meets Mario Kart. I don't know if anyone knows what Mod Nation Races is anymore, but that was a cool game back in the day, where you could actually create all your karts and riders and stuff like that. There was a PlayStation exclusive. So
PlayStation Vita? I want to
I
say
think it
that's
was on.
right.
They did do it. They did do a Vita version. There was a console version as well, but I think they did release it for Vita.
So I never played the console version, but boy, did I sink some hours into the Vita version. Continue,
Yeah.
please.
So if you like that, definitely give Cartwright Adrift a go. It's a PC, iOS, Android, so it's probably free. We've got Lone Ruin on Switch and PC, January 12. We've got Vengeful Guardian Moonrider, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Switch PC, January 12. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot gets its next-gen version release, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, January 13. Game Informer gave it an 8 out of 10, so not bad if you're a Dragon Ball fan. This one sort of piqued my interest. I'm not a Dragon Ball fan at all, but it kind of is open world. It's got that cell shading art style that I really enjoy in games. And if it had some fun combat, which I think it does, and you can fly around like Superman. If it's on Game Pass, I'm not sure that is. Bully might be able to fact check me on that, but I'd probably give that a crack if it was on Game Pass.
While you're checking that, Bully, can you check the top list of me? I'm particularly thinking of Children of Silent Town, possibly a Game Pass, maybe. And then the last
Yes,
one,
I think,
Bully,
I think you're right about that.
And then, Bully, I want to just grab the title of the last one for you because I want to pimp my onesie. That's right. You go back about 10 years on the channel. There's a video called Pimp My Onesie. It's some of our finest work. I highly encourage you to go back and check out Pimp My Onesie on Geek Aloud. But no, really, over to you, Unky, for the last one.
We have One Piece Odyssey. Bully spoke about it earlier. He's probably jumping out to JB Hi-Fi instead of watching Mythic Quest tomorrow to get it. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, January 13.
And sorry, Bully, I think you were going to just elaborate a little. Was this a JRPG, One Piece onesie? What's going on with it?
Yes, JRPG, turn-based RPG, very much of the mold of from the gameplay I've seen of the Final Fantasy sort of 6, 7, 8, 9 style, but obviously with better graphic styles and all the rest of it. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot as well, for those that haven't played it, is basically a reset. So if you've never played any, it's almost the same as One Piece Odyssey. If you haven't played it, you haven't played any of the other games or seen any of the anime, it's not a bad starting point. It basically takes you back to the start of the story and it goes from there. So there is that. In terms of the Game Pass list, I can tell you that the next couple coming out of the two Personas, then you got Monster Hunter Rise and Age of Empires.
So Children of Silent Town not included?
Nope.
Oh, okay, confirmed. There we have it. Sorry, my apologies for leading anyone astray. Gentlemen, may I suggest we head on over to the standoff?
Let's do it.
In that case, my question is, who will fight?
Who will fight?
Unky, the constraints for this week's were what again? Please refresh my poor memory.
Mate, well, as you've noticed, we've not really spoken or played anything new recently because we are in the midst of backlog season. So we are looking forward. We're going to speak about some new games coming out this year because we're going to look at what is G.E.A's most anticipated game of 2023. Feel free to sound off in the comments below.
Please
Let us know what you're looking forward to the most this year. It may not be on this list, so if you want to chuck it in there, we can, maybe have a look at that after we've gotten through our top 9 games for this year that we know about so far.
Indeed. Leading us off this week, I've got to hit a couple more buttons. The entrant number 1, Jim Cryan Ryan's Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom. This is big on my list of number ones. The Breath of the Wild, easily one of my favorite games of all time. Arguably one of the best Zeldas, if not my favorite Zelda of all time. The only one that could maybe rival it is Ocarina, but that's mainly due to nostalgia more so than gameplay because Breath of the Wild absolutely nails it. It was Elden Ring before we had Elden Ring, and it still stands as one of the best games on the Switch, if not the best game on the Switch to date.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Will you be going hands on day one if this is a Switch 1 release, or like me, are you going to wait for the Switch 2 before you actually boot this one up?
That's a very good question. I really hope this launches in line with a Switch 2. But unfortunately, I think if that's the case, then this game's getting pushed for that reason because there's no way we're getting a Switch 2 when this game's due to release. So it's a pain in the ass because I do want this game to run well. I know the first one still doesn't run that well in certain parts of that game. So a sequel, which is bigger and better in every way, I kind of have some kind of hesitation as to say it's going to run well on the old version of the Switch. So I don't know. That's one hesitation, but you're right. It'd be a tough call if they say we've got a Switch 2 come the end of the year. Do I hold off on playing Zelda? Maybe, but it doesn't stop it being one of my most anticipated games this year. And is it going to have sequel fatigue where you feel like you've played something like this before? Where Horizon 2 for me is better that is to the first game, you kind of like a little bit. I've kind of been there, done that. Is Zelda going to have that same feeling? I don't think so. I think Zelda's in a echelon of its own when it comes to what they do with these games, and I cannot wait to play this game. You boys?
I am pumped up to 11. I can't wait, but I will wait for the Switch 2. There's no way I'm playing this on the old Switch 1. Bully, your thoughts?
Oh, no, day one for me. Even if it chugs a little bit on the old stinky Switch, I think it's something you got to check out. And then hopefully at some point early this year, we get an announcement for maybe later in the year that the Switch 2 is coming, and then we can have another crack at it again when that comes out.
I was going to say, if I could play Pokemon the way it runs, I could probably do it the way Zelda's probably going to run somehow.
I don't think we ever covered the story on G.E.A, but do you blokes remember the story? I'm pretty sure it was for Pokemon that it leaked online, the ROM of it. The Switch ROM got leaked online. It was like 3 or 4 weeks before launch, and there were heaps of YouTube videos and stuff, like spoilers out there. That was for... Diamonds and Pearls,
That's happened fairly regularly with Switch games over the last couple of years. That they're getting knocked and released early. So,
do you think there's any chance Nintendo let this happen to this Switch game? Like, I'm saying they would deliberately hold it for the Switch 2 just so it doesn't leak online a month early. The Switch 1 ROM.
No. It's coming out when it comes out, irrespective of whether someone managed to grab the ROM and dump it and put gameplay footage up there, which I'll be honest, I fully expect to happen. So just be aware of that going into the last month or two, that you probably want to avoid any sort of media in relation to it, because it is going to get spoiled for you. It's happening more and more frequently.
That is my assertion as to why that Switch 2 is coming in HOT hot. They have to release it sooner rather than later. It's got to be eating their lunch. I haven't seen one article about it, but have you blokes read anywhere speculation as to the sales numbers, damage-wise, it's doing to them with that ROM releasing early?
No, I've seen nothing. I can't imagine we didn't. Like, people will buy a broken Pokemon game in the millions, knowing that it's broken and still spend money. So I don't think it's doing anything to their sales whatsoever.
Oh, I highly disagree, though. I've got zero data to back myself up. Just my gut feeling. Bully, any final thoughts before we move on to the second entrant?
No, I wish it was May.
I'm going to call it now. I reckon Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has one of the highest, if not the highest, Metacritic score this year.
Oh, I like a good early prediction.
Review bombs. Wait for it.
It's probably true.
Who has it in for Nintendo? No one. Nintendo get a pass every time.
That's it.
Speaking of review bombs, Starfield, anyone?
Starfield, we spoke about it earlier. This is Microsoft's big IP with Bethesda this year.
Look at that horrible white HUD, would you?
I'm sure that's going to be customizable accessibility and all that jazz these days. But no, this is another massive one. We've been starved of a big Bethesda open world RPG for a while, and now with Microsoft's money behind them, you'd like to think they've got all those bugs and stuff worked out. And if this game, as we spoke about it before, can release bug-free with the scope and stuff that they're going for, this is going to be huge. I know you usually generally have your two standpoints of people. You've got your people that like Bethesda, with the Oblivion side, with the medieval stuff. Then you've got your more sort of futuristic Fallout side. This is, it's going to polarize people a bit more, I think, with the setting. Some people don't like space stuff, but I think with Bethesda's pedigree and what they've got now with Microsoft partnership and what they're doing with this game, and even the gameplay we saw at E3 or not E3 last year, that got me excited to think that we're finally going full first-person shooter combat. I hope they nail that. I know they'll nail the story because it's Bethesda.
I've just been struck by a thought I want to share with you. Do you blokes remember, I'm going to say it was the Game Awards, correct me if I'm wrong, but recently on a games presentation, there was the International Space Station. Do you recall that? The I don't know where she was, female astronaut floating on the space station talking up the positive impact of video games? Is that ringing a bell for either of you blokes?
No.
Trust me, it definitely happened. But here's my assertion. In the Starfield upcoming, as we've speculated, 6 or 7 weeks away, Starfield big reveal, I'm going to assert that they go back to the International Space Station for a cross to an astronaut talking up Starfield. How about that one?
I don't put that past them at all.
Bully, any final thoughts on Starfield before we reveal the third entrant this week?
Well, if the Activision deal goes through, they've got no money to be able to do that. So we'll see how it goes,
Fair enough. Entrant 3,
Spidey, we don't have a release date just yet, but it's coming this year. They've assured us, they're
Wait,
doing.
Bully, do me a favor. Look up the last 2 release dates for Spider-Man and Miles Morales. Go, Unky.
So they've obviously said we've got Wolverine coming from the studio as well, but Insomniac,
Schnigs.
Yeah, Insomniac though we do trust because they have released nothing but absolute gold. They don't do anything wrong as far as I'm concerned. One of the best studios out there, and with Spider-Man Part 2, my God, they're bringing Miles together with Peter. We've got Venom. We've got Green Goblin, I think, as well, with what's happening with the story at the end of number 1. And I just cannot wait to see where this story goes. Replaying Spider-Man Last Christmas and replaying Miles Morales more recently, those games just hold up ridiculously well and just look next gen no matter when you play them compared to games that have come out after them. It's just, I cannot wait for this game. I know I'm going to love it.
Do we know if Spider-Man 2 is Spider-Man 2 player? Obviously, both the Spideys are in there, but can I go couch co-op?
They have not confirmed any co-op, but
have they denied?
They haven't denied. They have not said it's not co-op, but I can imagine somewhere where if you're trying to make the game better and bigger than what it has been in the past, you maybe have to incorporate some kind of multiplayer. Not sure how you go about it. I could also see it being a thing where they do stick to that single player story structure, and Pete gets infected with Venom, which is probably going to happen. We're probably going to see the black suit on Peter, and you become Miles to then sort of help out. I could see it just working its way into the storyline structure as opposed to being a multiplayer game. But like, if you're going to create a multiplayer Spider-Man game, you're going to have to bring in the Spider-Verse and having everyone play as different Spider-Man or create your own Spider-Man, which is, we've seen nothing on that. There's nothing to say that this game's not
Spider-Man. Bring in Nicolas Cage.
Oh, it'd be amazing. But I don't think this is that game, whether that's the next version of the game where we get. But I think if they just stick to their storyline structure, tell a very good story with the graphics they've got, with the performance capture they've got, with the pedigree this studio is known for, we are in for one hell of a game.
How good is that little lightning running up the pole? Good. It's so bloody back about 5 games for him. Infamous.
Oh, yes.
It just lights me up on the Infamous for a gameplay first studio. That's what I love about Insomniac. Bully, your thoughts?
Oh, don't do the multiplayer, please.
I can't imagine anything better than sitting here, me as Miles Morales, and my young bloke next to me playing as Peter Parker. Boy, we could have some fun.
I could see it as a side thing, as a separate entity, but don't just leave it as it is. It's a fantastic thing as it is. Don't go trying to shoehorn things that don't belong in there and making it worse. Have a separate game mode or whatever you want to have off to the side. By all means, do that. Just don't ruin the storyline by having things like that, because I know what ends up invariably happening is that they
Gotham Knights. Come on, mate.
I was going to say Gotham Knights. How much fun that was to sort of go as the party, be stealthy, and take them out. You don't want it to ruin the core experience of telling a great Spider-Man story, and I could see how drop in, drop out co-op could ruin that when it comes to the story standpoint about when characters should be in the game or not when they're out of the game. So I could see that ruining it there, and I could see Bully's thoughts about creating a separate game completely if you want to do that kind of experience. But again, I also see the merit in having drop in, drop out, and having those experiences with someone else.
Well, I think the only thing is that you have if you're gonna what I've seen from time to time is that they go, okay, it's a co-op thing, and then no worries, that's fine. You can play the single player, you can play a co-op. This is a very collectible heavy game. So there's some games that have then gone and said, oh, well, you can only do this in co-op, or you have to have co-op to be able to do this mission, or you have to have co-op to be able to do this. Do what you want, as long as I can just play it as it needs to be played, or how I'd like to play it, and I don't have to go and then find someone to be able to do this mission or unlock this thing. That's,
Now, I know you didn't finish it, but how would you feel if they did like a GTA 5 single-player story implementation where you could, D-pad your way between Miles and Peter?
I mean, that might work if you're doing it all yourself, because it's all self-contained. Maybe, but at the point where you start putting objectives in there that can only be done co-op and 2-player, that's where
I agree. No, I agree. Hard pass on that one, mate. I don't like the idea of forced anything. So no thanks. But give me the option of bringing in, sending up the bat signal. Oh, I'm stuck, Unky. Come help me with Iceman. No, what was it? Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze.
Speaking of Maverick and Top Gun, I'm all excited about Iceman.
One of the greatest supervillains of all time, Iceman. and his sidekick, Wet boy.
And the good guy, Bat Dude.
All right, then. Fine. Lay the boots in. Number 4 this week, Final Fantasy XV1, known as 16.
Yes, I spoke last week about how I've become a bit of a Final Fantasy fan, and for all good reason. I think they're doing all things right with this franchise, and I've sunk my teeth into it, absolutely loving Crisis Core still. I'm still going to finish that game. But yeah, Final Fantasy 16, this comes out, I think, June, just before my birthday, so this might have to go on the list for the misso to get me for my birthday, but I cannot wait to play this game. I know some people sort of, again, kind of like your Bethesda stuff, sort of, move between the enjoying Final Fantasy, this style or Final Fantasy VII, where it's sort of more set in the future. But I'm just a Final Fantasy fan. I think now it doesn't matter what they do as long as it's a good story, good gameplay. And I know they've brought in the I think it's the gameplay director or something from Devil May Cry 5 with the combat for that, and that's he's the combat director for this game. So if that game had anything, it was very good combat. Just a shout out, I think it's going to PlayStation Plus as of January 17. I think Devil May Cry 5.
The poverty tier or Jim Cry and Ryan's high tiers?
The middle one, I think.
Hard pass.
It might be just on PlayStation Plus, I think. So I'd have to look it up. I should have chucked it in the news, but yeah, it's one of the games. But anyway, so that director's here for the combat here, and from all accounts, looking at the footage here, the combat looks insanely good. I've enjoyed the combat of Final Fantasy 15 for what that was, and Crisis Core, so a bit more action based, and the Final Fantasy 7 where you could still sort of pause gameplay at certain aspects and issue your commands, or you had that more sort of hands-on sort of stuff as well. So if this can sort of move from that, they've got the Final Fantasy 14 writers, I believe, for this game as well, and that game just continues to be one of the best ongoing Final Fantasy or ongoing games going on from all accounts. So if they've got that team working with that, they've got the gameplay side worked out, this game is going to hit on all accounts for me. I can't wait.
Very good. And sorry, mate, did you throw a release date in there, or did I miss it? Your birthday. Yes, that's right, your birthday. I'm with you.
Yeah, it's June. I think it may be a week, but my birthday is June 25. I think it's a week before that, or maybe a little bit before that, unless Bully's looking it up feverishly on his computer right now.
And sorry, what was your wife's maiden name and your birthday? We just got. What was your first pet's name?
You trying to get my passwords for my computer? It's just
password.
Password. No one's going to guess
1,
that.
2, 3, 4, 5. Gotcha.
Sorry, Billy, how'd you go with those dates, mate?
June 22 was the release date for it. On the same, I cannot wait. I've loved Final Fantasy for 25 years, 30 years. So I can't wait. They just keep getting better and better. I know they've had the occasional sort of misstep, but even those missteps were, in my opinion, pretty good and had something of value in them anyway. Number 15, I think Unky was the same. You played through to completion. I didn't get quite that far, but 15, despite its critics and knockers, I thought that was a fantastic game. They've gone back to the fantasy setting as opposed to the modern sort of stuff, which I think is where Final Fantasy does its best work. And to be honest with you, I'm the same. I can't wait. This will certainly not be an Amazon purchase.
Good.
I'll be wanting this on day one.
He doesn't want to get it in August.
No. So yeah, 100%. I'll be in on this on day one and probably be bashing it out until I finish it.
Very good. That backlog will grow ever more. Speaking of your backlog, Final Fantasy VII's getting a rebirth.
You'll be bashing it out until the next Final Fantasy comes out, the sequel to Final Fantasy VII, a remake. We've got Rebirth. I don't know if there's a date set on this. It is due out this year, so Final Fantasy's just bringing out all the hits. But I think I said last week that Final Fantasy VII Remake probably would have been my favourite game the year it came out. Had Last of Us Part 2 not came out that same year. I cannot wait to see where this game goes now with the open world of Final Fantasy VII. Obviously, we were stuck inside the city for pretty much the whole game of number one. And even playing Final Fantasy Crisis Core at the moment, you can see some of the outdoor areas, which I think we're going to start to go in. There's some like snow-capped fields and mountains and outdoor desert areas and stuff, which I think we're going to start to see. In this trailer, you can see the vastness of some of these vistas that it looks like we're going to see. And dare I say it, Bully, some biomes. Cannot wait to see what they throw up with us. And it's had obviously a few more years now in development since the first one. So I think even the crispy graphics we got in the first one, which has now had sort of updates to the PS5 version, all that kind of stuff with the expansion they brought out last year, I cannot wait to see what they do with this. So if you're, one of the fans, either way, as I said, Bully and I, doesn't matter whether it's the fantasy setting or the more futuristic setting, we're probably in for this day one, and I cannot absolutely wait for Final Fantasy VII to see where this story takes us next.
And just confirming, mate, they have stated this is part 2 of 3, yeah? They've locked it in at 3?
Yep.
Yep, perfect. Sorry, Bully, over to you, mate. Any thoughts on the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
Oh, again, that'll be. I mean, played through the first one, absolutely loved it. This is probably the best part of it is you leave Midgard and then you move out into the open. This is where you get to the open world part. You can really start exploring and getting out there and seeing some of the creatures and stuff that they're going to come up with. Just had a look.
Check out, just for a minute there, look how good Cloud's hair looks there. Sorry, Bully, keep going.
Oh, I've seen photos of. Oh no, hang on, that was.
That's some good grass. Some good grass there as well.
Good grass. Good grass.
We should. Oh God, that's what we should have. Sorry, we should have done a grass for Standoff. Sorry.
Grass, yes, grass.
Next week, boys.
Oh, we've given it away now. You can't go losing next week. Yeah? Oh, what about best?
How will we know who wins?
I can see a feather floating on the screen. How about best feather?
Oh, Paul, you've called it. Done.
Again, this is day one. Played through as I said, played through the first one. Loved it. This will be day one. I've just had a look. I can't. They haven't got a hard and fast release date as of yet. They just. My understanding is it'll be in the second half of next year. So given that 16's coming out in June 22, I would have thought maybe this is
June 23, you mean?
June 22. June 22nd.
Oh, sorry.
I would have thought this is probably a late Q3 or Q4, I would have thought, if it's going to punch out this year, which means you're probably looking at October-ish, I would have thought, as a release date. Whether that gives it enough time in between the 2, 4 or 5 months, I guess time will tell, but I guess it depends how big 16 is, whether that's still got stuff coming for it.
How good you Googling, Bully? Look me up, if you wouldn't mind. Square Enix, surely. Square Enix financial quarters. I reckon they're going to back these up.
Japanese country, they run April to March.
April to March. Yeah. How's that lining up if we hit, middle of the year and then the next quarter for the next one?
Well, they only operate in a financial year. That's their financial year, so I guess breaking.
I feel like their quarters are offset.
That'd be the second half of their financial year if it was to come out October, November.
Yeah, right. Well, that sounds about right. I just don't see them coming out too close together, but surely it'll be squeezed out this year. It's got to be. Otherwise, the boil will fall off the old Final Fantasy VII, I suspect. Entrance 6 this week, Unky.
Now, interesting. This is more of a fever dream. I know I don't think they've put a hard and fast date on this game. They've said it's 2023 at this point. It would have to be late 2023.
Was this not in the Xbox definitely coming in the next 12 months showcase?
I don't know if it was in that showcase. I think we saw it before.
That's where this came from.
That one. I remember this was at the end of a showcase and it came out of nowhere. I just cannot wait for this game. Like, we haven't heard much about it. I know they're going survival horror routes this time as opposed to action game, and I just trust this studio so much. Remedy's just given me so much joy in the past to some of my favorite games. Alan Wake's one of my favorite franchises. Control came out of nowhere from that studio.
And they've confirmed they're the same universe, haven't they?
They have, yeah. So Alan Wake stuff does come up in Control and the way they tell that story. So I don't know whether they'll weave something into this one in relation to Control. I think we'll get probably more. I think more likely we'll get Alan Wake 2 and then we'll get Control 2, which will then, bring some Alan Wake stuff into that. But
I'm blanking on her name, but I reckon odds on we're going to see her make a tiny little cameo, I reckon, in this one.
Potentially. And
what is the lead character's name in Control? Help me out.
That is a very good question. It's
I can picture her.
I know we both platinumed that game.
Yep. And Katrina. No. Can't believe Google away, son.
Oh, I'm thinking Google. Oh, Jesse Faden.
Jesse Faden, you've nailed it. Can confirm.
Can confirm. So, Alan Wake 2, the fact they're moving to survival horror, I think they'll still have action in there. I think, something like Callisto or Dead Space or something like that, it's sort of moving closer, a bit more personal when it comes to its horror, as opposed to the torch stuff we got in the first game, and the full sort of action, more sort of Max Payne-y sort of gameplay. I think we will get more of an action horror game, but the fact that moving to survival horror, I cannot wait to see what the studio can do with something like this. The Alan Wake franchise is going to be, I can't wait.
They've clearly upped the engine as well. The even the remake didn't look anywhere near this good. This is phenomenal. This trailer.
Nah. So if this drops this year, I could easily see this being one of my favorite games of the year. I love survival horror. I know you boys don't mind it when you can chuck the lights on and chuck it on easy. Can confirm. Did finish Callisto on the normal difficulty.
Only when you play during the day though.
True. So I know you guys will enjoy this game when you play it during the broad daylight, but I just, after Control and as much as I love Alan Wake 2, definitely, if it drops this year, this will take the cake for me.
Oh yeah, I'm keen for it, Bully.
Just had a look. There's no release date, but yes, slated for 2023 at some point. So probably the back end of the year, I would have thought.
Oh yeah, out before December for the Game of the Year award nominee.
To be honest, I could see this game getting pushed to next year, but it's more a hopeful thing by me. They've said 2023. I'm just hoping this game. They've had plenty of time since Control to get this thing going.
Well, according to Jeff Keighley, it's November 17 is the cutoff date for the Game Awards. So wouldn't want to be any later than that.
No, you wouldn't.
You might find yourself getting smacked about. Where's the crossover though between the two of them?
I reckon she's just going to appear at some point, and then I don't think it'll be a big appearance, but I think we're definitely going to see Alan Wake meet her.
Control Alan Wake.
There is a DLC called Control, isn't there? Yeah, there was.
Sorry, Bully.
Tough audience.
That one landed in the arrow.
And disintegrated with the putrid water. Look, I'm probably not as hyped about this, although I can see it does look fantastic. I'll admit that. And if they do sort of move into more of that, almost a Resident Evil style type game, I'd be all in for that as well. But probably, without giving it away, there's probably a few on this list that would nudge themselves a fair bit higher than this at the moment, even though it does look pretty good.
Very cool. Now this one, shout out to Tagaro. Here we go, mate.
Here we go, Tagaro. Here's yours. Resident Evil 4 Remake. We know the first game is fantastic, but some people, they gripe about the controls being set in the old school. So if you play Resi 4 now, there's a lot of hype about it. But if you go and play it now, a lot of people say, next-gen controls have sort of, spoiled, this game, because you play stuff like Resident Evil 2 Remake that's done so well with its controls and gameplay. Is that your little man hands there? Or?
That's me trying to use a modern controller.
Oh, that's right. PlayStation's bringing out a new controller for you. We spoke about it last week. Leonardo, all for you. But no, I cannot wait for this game. I love Resi 4, but I more so love Resident Evil 2 Remake and what they did with that, even to a lesser extent Resident Evil 3 Remake. But with that RE engine and this game the way it is, I'm just excited to see how they adapt that to a new console. And yeah, I like the third person shooting in Resi. I've already said survival horror is my genre. Cannot wait for Alan Wake 2. But this thing, we already know this game's actually coming out. We've got a release date for it, so cannot wait.
Any word on whether it's hitting the old PSVR 2 first person horror action?
Nah, no word on that yet. I again probably should take out a second mortgage to afford that thing to even play it. But so I hope it doesn't have a version of that. I know Village is going to have a version of it, but no word on that for this. I doubt we'll see it. We haven't seen VR versions of Resident Evil 2 or 3 Remake at this point. But no, I cannot wait to play this game. What do we release date, Bully, for this one?
November 18. You're muted, Bully. You're muted.
That's not fair, buddy.
March 24.
March. That's right. So it's not too far away, and I think it'll get a massive audience for this one. Obviously not so big as some of the other games, but
do we know Tagaro? Is he a PlayStation boy? Is he an Xbox, or is he PSVR 2 inclined? Would he be keen?
I don't think Tagaro is a PSVR 2 guy. He's definitely a PlayStation guy. I know that. He loves his old PlayStation 2 and retro games. He loves the old games. So I imagine he's definitely picking this up on the PlayStation. You can confirm that in the chat there, Tagaro, but I think I've nailed that one.
Tell me
Well,
this, Tagaro, if you're a hard pass on the PSVR 2, if Resident Evil 4 came out with PSVR 2, for a Jim Cry and Ryan extra 80 plus the 880, would you be going all in just for the Resident Evil 4 first-person horror experience? That's what I want to know. Bully, any final thoughts on the Resident Evil 4 remake?
No, that's another one I'm looking forward to. It looks, I replayed it again about 2 years ago, and even the PS4 version probably wasn't holding up so much, but from what we've seen of this, it absolutely looks fantastic. Hopefully they haven't dropped a lot of that sort of campiness that came with the first one, because
they
some
can't.
of the
They'd get an infringement notice.
Well,
they would.
I mean, that's the thing. Quite a lot of the charm of that game is the fact that it's just cheesy and a bit cringy in places, and they can't. And Tigaro just jumping in there saying PlayStation forever and no to the VR, and he also said a bit earlier that Resi 4 on the PS2 was at the time the greatest game ever made, and Capcom's made it even better. So he can't wait for that one.
Beautiful work. Can
And
confirm.
I'm going to jump in quickly. We did mention VR for this. I actually did jump in. I think I did review it on G.E.A. sort of last year at some point.
Yep.
The Oculus 2 version of Resi 4, and I was so high on that. That's probably up until this version of the game come out, the best way to play Resident Evil 4. Like, incredible experience in VR. It plays so well. You can move while you're shooting now because you are in VR, and it was done so well. That is easily one of the best VR experiences I've had, and easily one of the best games ever made.
You've played Half-Life Alyx. Well, you've both played Half-Life
I
Alyx.
have. Yeah, and Half-Life Alyx is on its next level. They need to bring that out on PSVR too.
They do. Bully, any thoughts on Half-Life Alyx while we're here?
What did I put about 10 or 15 minutes into it? I think it's got a lot of potential. I know everyone sort of raved about it, but probably didn't have enough time to actually make an assessment. But having said that, if they were to throw Resi 4 on the PSVR that I've got coming in about 6 weeks, I reckon I'd have to have you boys over to have a look at it, because between that and some of the other ones that are coming out, I reckon I could almost convince you to take out that second Mortgage Junkie.
I was going to say, I don't think we'll be coming to your place because the wife will kick you out after you get that VR. So you can bring it around to my place and I'll set up a spare bedroom for you.
Oh, by my place, I mean, the local homeless shelter.
Plenty of room in the Unky Dunky Palace of Gaming, Bully, I can confirm. Now, do we know if they're remaking the old chainsaw controller from the GameCube days?
I would think not.
Well, that's a swing and a miss.
Would you not?
I know. Why wouldn't you?
One of the greatest controllers of all time.
I'm sure Troy's hands could easily deal with that.
All right, entrant 8 this week, and boy, am I excited for this one. I'll use my force powers.
Ooh, we have Dark Souls meets Star Wars for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, sequel to one of the best games of 2018.
Woo-hoo.
I want to say 19. 2019, I'm going to call it.
Oh, I would have gone earlier. I would have said maybe 17.
I think it's 9. It was one of those years where not much happened. I think this won a lot of the Game of the Year awards and stuff, and they've since patched it, and it's got next-gen releases. I think it's available on PlayStation Plus at the moment. But the sequel to this, they released a trailer only a few weeks ago, and some of the gameplay stuff I've seen in this now, the improvements they've made, just look absolutely insane. So
I cannot wait.
I cannot wait for this. Like, obviously, it's got that Souls combat, but it's Star Wars. They've now got firearms and stuff. I think they've upped the, you can see on screen now, there's just some of the traversal options with creatures and stuff you've got. I think the story they told in the last game was really well told as a Star Wars story, and I'm excited to see where that sort of goes now with our lead character.
I like the fact that we haven't seen, from the first one, there was so much in-cave play. It felt very brought in, but everything that I've seen appears way more open in number 2. So that's got me really excited. The idea of a broader, Elden Ring style, a bit broader. Give me some space. Give me some room to move.
I can't wait. It's got that Metroidvania style as well, where you sort of unlock abilities. You can come back to those levels. If those levels are bigger and are more expanded than the first game, I can't wait to explore what we've got here. You can see on screen now the combat and some of these like cop moves with like NPC characters. You can now split his lightsaber in 2 and go dual wield and stuff. Like some of this combat stuff looks insane.
Arrow in twine.
God, I've seen that movie way too many times. I'm pretty sure there was a period there at G.E.A. or just streams where we just kept referencing that movie just randomly. But no, he's even got that lightsaber there at the end of the trailer there that seems to mimic the Kylo Ren sword, where it's got the little things that come out the side as well. But
I believe they're officially called Little Jobbies.
Little Jobbies, yep, that is the official name from Star Warspedia. But no, another game, like obviously a lot of these games this list we've picked some of the best come out this year. This is what we know about, and this I think is early this year, sometime first quarter or second quarter. We're getting this one.
Bully, release date for this one, mate. Have you got it handy? Typing. I personally am so pumped for this game. I'm almost finished my playthrough on the Xbox Series X. As you said, mate, it's in Game Pass. And it's got the 60 frames a second, what do you call it? HDR. It's got all the bells and whistles, and it's in Game Pass. And I'm almost finished that. My second playthrough, I've played it through on PlayStation 4 when it originally came out. Oh, sorry, Bully, did you also have the release date of the original Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order?
I can find out for you the original one, but March 17th is this one.
Beautiful.
Give me
Looking forward to that one.
And I'll find you the other one.
Thank you, sir. Now, March 17th, did we already well, one of the others in this list, March, was maybe Spider-Man 2? Oh, no, Starfield. That's what we're saying.
Yep.
Oh, yes. Starfield up against Star Wars. What do you reckon the chances are?
Maybe.
We'll see. And the original one was November 15th.
Which
2019.
year? Oh, 19. Bully. Unky, you called it, mate. Good work.
Thank you.
9th entrant this week.
Now, 9th entrant, I chucked this on last minute. Initially, I was like, I'm not that hyped for this game. But then I had to stop and have a think to myself, this is Rocksteady Games. They brought us the Batman games, arguably some of the best games, ever made in relation to superheroes.
And they've used an Android HUD, and I appreciate it.
That's right. So I may not be the biggest Suicide Squad fan, albeit the most recent movie by James Gunn was incredible compared to the first garbage we got.
Yep.
But this game, it's got to be good, doesn't it? This game has been in development for so long now. The most recent trailer they showed with Batman dropping in, and it was a homage to what's his name? Kevin Conroy.
Thank you.
And that scene just solidified it to me that if they can sort of bring the superheroes that we're fighting into the fray in the story, I feel like I can get myself really invested into what we're doing. I do trust Rocksteady when it comes to gameplay, and we've seen here there's some really good gameplay stuff going on. I'm still not entirely sold on how we're going to be playing as these characters as a single player game. I don't think they've announced multiplayer stuff. I could be wrong. Standoff in comments or a few boys know anything different. But
no idea.
After seeing the way Gotham Knights work, that actually for me worked as a single player game that could be played multiplayer with different characters. You pick the character you like, and the progression worked well.
The difference here is we saw only ever single player version content for that in advance, whereas we're seeing here there's multiple heroes, protagonists on the screen at once, or anti-heroes, if you will. So I don't think they're going to give us the Gotham Knight style implementation.
No, but if anything, like Rocksteady, this will be a polished game. I've got no doubt about it. It's been in development for so long that it can't not be. I think maybe they shit themselves a little bit when they have announced this game, and then we got that real shit Suicide Squad movie, so everyone sort of associated that. But I think, thankfully, James Gunn brought out a good Suicide Squad movie and restored that grace of these characters and what they can be in a movie and how it can be told. And if I think they hit that same sort of level of storytelling, same level of characterization of these characters and the way they work as a team, I think it could be really enjoyable. So
from the second film, do we know if Glitterman's making an appearance in this?
Oh, I don't know. I hope he does. That's the thing. They can play with all these random and weird characters, and I think that with Rocksteady's pedigree, I think they can do well with what these characters can provide and stuff in the story, and tell a different story that isn't just your stock standard superhero story. And I think we have to trust what they're going to do is going to be good, because it is Rocksteady. They've had this long with this game. They've obviously poured all their time into it. As I said, there was probably a little hiccup there where they, weren't, thinking
right
this
there
franchise
on screen right now. There's a hiccup.
Where this 2022, where this franchise was actually, not going to be doing too well. But I think thanks to James Gunn, we've got a bit more good grace, and I think this game's going to do really well when it comes out. Well, fingers crossed it does, but it definitely earned a place on this list when I started to think about Rocksteady and Batman and storytelling, and I cannot wait for this game.
And I bloody love a good Australian accent there. Mr. Boomerang's got one. It's a banger.
Well, whether it's a good one, they seem to always do us dirty in video games. We'll have to wait and see.
What about the knife, mate? The knife from High on Life. They
Well, no,
bloody
it was-
nailed that.
No, it's true. They did.
Bully, your thoughts on Kill the Justice League?
Oh, I'm a little bit on the fence with this one. I loved the Arkham games and originally was pretty excited when I saw this, but I think almost the longer it's gone on, I've sort of wound back my enthusiasm for it a bit. But we'll see as it gets closer to the release date, which is hopefully, I think they're sort of flagging third quarter this year. Was off the top of my head, we start to see a little bit more of the ins and outs of it, and maybe a bit of the gameplay as opposed to just some, pre-rendered stuff and that we're sort of seeing on screen there, something to show us how it plays a bit more than what it is. But I don't know. I love those Batman ones so much. I just don't. I can't. I'm a bit worried it's just not going to translate. Although,
are you concerned there's no Batmobile?
Well, I actually didn't mind the Batmobile. I know it copped the.
I was the same. I don't think it was egregious as a lot of reviewers made it out to be be honest.
Oh, I think you're just being a bit pretentious.
Yeah, I agree.
Going around? No,
mate. If they didn't have it, they'd be like, "Oh, there's no Batmobile."
Oh, you haven't. Well, that'd be it. You haven't iterated. You haven't.
Yeah, exactly.
You haven't expanded. You haven't given us anything new. You've just given us Arkham City, Part 2. Go and blow it out your backside, you cleans. But I don't know. I mean, Rocksteady got the runs on the board that you sort of got to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, yep,
Yeah.
We think they know what they're doing. But I don't know. I'll just a bit. Just a little thing in the back of my head just sort of thinks, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
I got high hopes for this one, but it is not the one I'm leaning towards, fellas. That is the final entrant. I'm going to lob up there my nominee for the winner of this week's Standoff. For me, personally, I can't go past me some Spidey. Insomniac Games yet to do me wrong. I say the most anticipated game of the year for me, Spider-Man 2. I nominated as G.E.A.'s most anticipated. What do you have to say about that, Unky?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you there. I think with how good the Spider-Man games are already, and with what Insomniac do with their video games, it's hard to argue against Spider-Man. I could put an argument there for Zelda, but again, you're like, we've played. You could argue also we've played Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales, but we've played Breath of the Wild, and this sort of looks more of the same as well. And we're running on old hardware, so it's harder to get excited about a game that is running on the Switch.
Are you saying that Spider-Man 2 is PS4 bound?
No, it's not. No, I'm saying no, not a chance. Not a chance. Well, I say not a chance, but they probably will. But I'm hoping Zelda's obviously going to be out on the old version of Switch, whereas Spider-Man
Zelda.
2.
Sorry, I'm with you.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So Zelda's going to be running. So do I get excited for Jim Crichton's back? Do I get excited for Zelda? Yes, but in the back of my mind, it's like, how is that going to run? I know Spider-Man 2 is going to run flawlessly because it's Insomniac Games running on a PlayStation 5 natively. It's going to be brilliant. The story is going to be great. The gameplay is going to be incredible. I cannot wait for that game. I've played both games now a second time and gone back to them. It's like playing for the first time every time because that game is just silky smooth in every way. But again, there's a lot of good games on this list, and I could probably put an argument forward for any of them. But I'll go with you, Troy, with Spider-Man 2 at this point.
I love it. Bully, where are you sitting, mate? I saw a lot of head shaking there. You're obviously leaning somewhere else. What is it?
Oh, he wouldn't be Bully if he was going against us, Troy.
Shake and bake. Final Fantasy 16 for me.
I like that choice.
I've missed switch. Sorry, which one was it?
Final Fantasy 16. I just, we haven't seen. What was it when the last mainline one was 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
It looks fantastic. It looks, graphically, it looks fantastic. The way that they've gone back to, as I said before, the more the fantasy stuff as opposed to the mixture and the melding of different, genres or worlds. It really sparks a lot of interest in me. And I've always, as I said, when we were talking about it before, I've loved Final Fantasy for 25, 30 years. So this is just
almost as long as you love Carmen Sandiego.
If anyone wasn't watching last week, just looking at it now, it just looks fantastic, and I agree with everything you guys have said about Spider-Man. That the story's fantastic, and what if it's going to be one of the first truly PS5 only games. Hopefully, fingers crossed, old crying Ryan, that we see that what they can actually do, given that they've had that development time and all the rest of it. The only thing that stops me giving Spider-Man the gong is pretty much what you guys said before. And I get that they're on different hardware, their last gen hardware, but we saw Spider-Man a couple of years ago, and then Miles Morales on the launch of the PS5 that came out. That yes, it looked amazing, but and granted, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad game at all, or it's going to be boring because we've seen it recently. But the fact that we've had two in it, and then a third, basically in the space of 5 years, which is pretty quick turnaround. I'll be brutally honest with you, is probably why it just shades me over to Final Fantasy.
And sorry, does anyone know? And this is a weird one. Do we know the release date of the Spider-Man film this year? Are they close? The Into the Spider-Verse 2 is. I feel like it's mid-year, June or July.
Yeah, I think it got pushed a bit, so I'm not sure. I could easily see that sort of launching a similar time to sort of get the buzz of that whole Spider-Man, or whether it's because Insomnia hasn't announced a date for Spider-Man 2 yet. So whether they go close to that Spider-Verse date, I don't know. I think we're looking sort of towards the end of the year for the game, though.
June 2 is the movie.
Yeah,
June
I can't
2.
see that. I can't see the game coming that early, to be honest.
Oh, I don't know, man. I think Sony have learned so many lessons from doing, Uncharted, and obviously they're following up with Gran Turismo now. Like, they are making big bucks when they tie the two together. Have we yet to see a co-launch? Like, obviously, it's not the game of the movie or the movie of the game, but like the TV show is probably the closest example. Like The Last of Us remake, 3-4 months ago, and now the TV show 3-4 months later. Honestly, I reckon the closer you get those two together, the more money you make on both the box office and the game sales. So I reckon Sony, being the experimenters they are from a marketing standpoint, I reckon there's half a chance we're going to see the Spider-Man 2 game come out very close to June 2nd then.
Well, it's funny, though, because you used to get that all the time, 2 or 3
Yeah, back in the day.
generations ago. But for the last sort of 10 or 15 years, they've sort of shied away from it. And a lot of the times, whereas you used to get basically a one-for-one retelling of the movie in the video game, even when they do release a game that coincides somewhere near the movie, it's got nothing to do with it. It's entirely separate.
But it's about being part of the zeitgeist. It's about being front of mind and, oh shit, Spider-Man here, Spider-Man there. Let's do Spider-Man, everyone.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it's just, they just seem to have moved away from it for some reason.
But I think their actions of late, they're going back. Everything's on a bloody rotisserie, and I think it's time to bring back okay, we're in the cinemas and we're in EB Games and JB Hi-Fi and Amazon front page game sales wise. I think that'd be crazy not to.
So to move away from speculation about when this game is launching, we're going to still pick a winner, guys. That's right. The majority is probably going to have to rule, unfortunately. I don't know if Bully's done enough to turn Troy around on Final Fantasy.
Not a chance you're going to get me to jump to Final Fantasy.
I'm the swing vote here, and so it's gonna go down to me where this goes. So, Bully, you made a pretty compelling argument about Final Fantasy, and as much as I am a huge fan of Final Fantasy and could easily say it's been one of my favorite games, I cannot move away from Troy and Spider-Man 2 because I just cannot wait to see what they're going to do with this. They have to iterate on just the New York City we've got, and I can't wait to see how they do it and what they do with that story. I cannot wait.
Oh, they're bringing in the 5 boroughs. Don't you worry about that. We're going to be in Queens. It's going to be fantastic. The Bronx, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
Cannot wait. So, Insomniac Spider-Man 2, the winner is you.
Indeed it is, boys. Now, that brings us, and I'm not going to forget this week, to segment 4, which is, of course, audience integration. Bully, what's been happening in that YouTube chat, my friend?
Oh, I've been trying to keep up as best as I can with it, but...
And you've done a top job of it, by the way.
Matt47 was throwing out his usual bit of facts and fiction earlier on in the chat, saying that Samuel L. Jackson was known for playing Nick Fury in the Marvel
MCU
movies.
Yep.
Who was the first actor, to play Nick Fury in the 90s? Do either of you guys know?
Hard pass from me. No idea.
Was it the Hoff?
It was the Hoff.
Yes.
Knight Rider himself.
And it's funny because Ty Garo's jumped in there and said David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury sounds a bit soft. Boom, boom.
Next thing you know, you'll be seeing him crying on the floor eating a hamburger.
Other than that, I think we've had MI12 jumping in there, just saying that he was looking forward to getting into Returnal.
Oh,
with
yeah,
his new
PC. Is
PS.
he waiting for the PC release?
No, he's got the PS5, but he was also looking at getting some storage and updating the plates on the outside with camo plates. But not that I've had a look. He's saying that they're very hard to get. So,
I thought it was a full console. I didn't realize you could just buy the switchable face plates for the camo. I thought it was the full console you had to buy.
No. I think you can get all the plates for it, and I think the camo one was a recent release that they were doing along.
I
with
remember
the
the
controller as well,
camo headsets and controllers like November last year they dropped.
Yeah,
but I didn't realize the face plates were individual purchases.
Yeah, I think they're doing the plates as well, which is he's wanting to get a hold of and just having a bit of a struggle for that. So
don't forget Returnal, G.E.A.'s Game of the Year 2021.
Yes, it was, and for good reason. Selena Kyle, she's just an absolute star, except when she's got syphilis.
Jesus.
I'm gonna just move straight past that. So that's
wait, that'll be part of Suicide Squad, surely.
And the other thing is, I'd like to thank Tigara as well. He's thrown a few donations in there while we've been chatting as well. So
Tigara, top effort
for doing that. And hopefully we've given you a couple of hours of enjoyment, mate, to sink your teeth into while you're sucking on your bundies there.
And pleased to enjoy the upgraded audio experience where donations to the channel will go to upgrading the studio, and hopefully you do enjoy the upgrades. That's right, this mic, test 1, 2. Brand new mic, coming in HOT hot. I love it. Thank you very much for the support in the community. I appreciate it, boys. That's going to do us for another week. Dare I suggest that I roll the old off duty?
Roll it.
Unky Dunky, thank you very much, sir, for checking in this week. Thank you, mate, for populating the news and the standoff as you do each and every week. So top effort and a great week this week. I absolutely love the standoff, mate. I reckon it's, I would argue, your best standoff. Meta idea. Standoff, best standoffs we've ever done. So I'm write that down.
I reckon we've actually already done grass, so that's probably going to take it for the best standoff we've done. But no, my pleasure,
I can confirm we've done trees.
We have done trees. Number 1 episode. Go check it out. No, my pleasure, mate. Anytime. It's always fun chat with you boys about video games. I am off duty, so I can be on duty back tomorrow morning at my actual job.
Beautiful work, mate. Thank you again. Bully, sir, thank you for coming along. Thank you for playing in the studio this week. Thank you for getting 70 kills and giving us a beautiful sinner of some sort of highlight video that was amazing.
Whatever it was, he wasn't number 1 on the team. That's fine. That's what we can say.
Number 1 kills on the team. That's all that matters when you're out protecting your teammate.
That's going to do it for this week. Thank you very much for watching Geek Aloud. Bully, what can you do with the channel?
You can like it, you can subscribe it, and you'll never miss it.
Indeed. Oh, that was luck.
Hey, that's not it.
I love everything about it. Ooh.
Old Uncle Donkey. Donkey.